should be hitting that live button, should be going live. It says we are live, so hopefully we're actually live. Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart. I am joined by Brandon from WhataboutNodnarb and Dumo from Dumo Plays. Their channels are linked in the description below. And this is the On Just Restart podcast we do every Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, for the most part. And we tend to talk about Nintendo the entire time, because that's what this is. This is a Nintendo podcast. And we just got a September Nintendo Direct just a few days ago, just in time. And I think it was pretty good. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. We're going to be talking about Bayonetta 3. We're going to be talking about Hunter Rise Sunbreak. We're going to be talking about Splatoon 3. We're going to be talking about Nintendo 64 coming to Nintendo Online and a whole bunch more tonight. And going beyond the Nintendo Direct, there's even a Metroid Prime remake rumor coming from not your standard Reddit posts or whatever, but actually like from people like Emily Rogers and Andy Robinson and Direct Feed Games. Now, I'm calling it a remake. Maybe there's some debate there, but it's being suggested that it's more than just what Prime Trilogy was going to be. So, exciting stuff. And you may have not heard of that because it came out, the news of this came out like right as the Direct was announced or right before it. So that information was sort of like just like washed over. And everyone started focusing on the Direct, which makes sense. But anyways, we're going to be diving into all of that tonight. So guys in the chat, let me know if everything is looking and sounding okay, or if I have to redo that entire intro, let me know. But how you guys doing?
Going all right now.
Good.
It's been a long week.
It's good to have you back, man.
Thank you.
I'm doing fine. It's all good. Pretty hyped after that Direct, though.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, it was pretty hype, right? It was pretty hype.
That was one of the hardest Directs I've ever had to watch, because I was like really sick during it, and there's like a lot of stuff going on in your head, and you just have no energy.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was so good though.
It was so good.
That was a really big Direct.
It was. Brandon gave it a B, and I just thinking on it, I'm like, Brandon, why'd you give it a B? I gave it an A. I think I was right.
Give it a B plus.
Oh, B plus. You know what? You're wrong. It was an A. It was an A. Okay. We're gonna get to chat in a moment. I just wanna say it's an A. Okay. Let me make my point. We talked about this post Direct on Thursday, but it was an A, bro. It was an A. Let me explain why it was an A instead of just saying it was an A. So, it was an A because it did everything you would expect from a September Nintendo Direct. Okay? Now, if in your mind an A has to be better than the best of the best, then I think maybe you should consider a grade above A, like S rank or something, or S plus, because I think in terms of everything you should reasonably expect from a September Nintendo Direct, they delivered. So let's go back to like pretty much all of our discussions, right? The expectation, right? That like the baseline expectation was, okay, Nintendo is going to give us a September Nintendo Direct, right? And that happened. We were right. Maybe it didn't happen in the beginning, but it happened in the month, so we were right. And that what they would do, they would focus on games coming out between now and March. That would be the focus in terms of games coming out in that period, but they would also give us one or two new announcements to hype us up for next year. So what exactly happened? That's exactly what happened. They did all of that. And they didn't just give us one hype game. They gave us two brand new hype games for 2022. Bayonetta 3 and Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And both are performing really well in terms of views. Both are million plus view videos already. They're trailers. They got dedicated trailers.
Okay.
The September Nintendo Direct, last I checked, was number 2 on trending. That was like at least a day or two after. So it seems to have actually been received really well. So I think like Nintendo did a pretty good job. And that doesn't even include that the Mario voice cast announcements, which was completely left field. And
yes, people are very
Now,
Some people love it and some people hate it, and some people.
and that's how it's always
think
going to
it's
be
funny.
when it comes to voice casting. We talked about the whole Link talking thing last week. There's always going to be haters with this, but it needs to be done. And they went out and they got an expensive cast. Like, this is an all-star cast, and we'll talk about that more later. But that was just completely unexpected. So that goes beyond expectation, right? It goes beyond expectation. But even when you consider the announcements they had, they didn't dwell on any one particular thing. They kind of gave us... It was very well balanced. Like, there were some things I didn't care at all about, right? But it wasn't enough. It was just for a few moments, and then they moved on to something else, and it was fine. And there was a lot of exclusive shown off, surprise stuff. Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. We all knew it was coming. I know we debated about it. I was like, oh, could it happen now? But we weren't sure because maybe, if you look at how Iceborne was handled and based off how the PC version is going, that maybe they waited a little bit longer. But no. Got announced now, it's coming out next summer. So, they did a lot with that. And then they showed off Splatoon 3 to give us another trailer. Now, they didn't give us a release date for Splatoon 3. Maybe you could consider that like a negative. But they still showed off Splatoon 3. We still have content coming throughout the year. And we know about games coming in the beginning of next year as well. And they also confirmed that Banjo is coming to Nintendo Switch. Like, that
Yes,
was a
they
low key thing, but that happened.
Yeah, they barely dwelled on that at all. I mean, they didn't. It was like the very last game, and it was
Yeah.
on like
They-
2 or 3 seconds.
They saved it for eagle-eyed viewers, but it was
Did you,
there.
Did you see what happened on Twitter over it?
What happened?
Someone
Maybe?
tweeted that Banjo would never come to Nintendo.
Oh yeah, I did, and then
And
Rare
then
retweeted them.
Rare retweeted with it. If he wants to tell him.
Yeah,
I did see that.
yeah, I saw that, and then he had to backpedal, but he took it gracefully. Honestly,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just a fun thing.
Yeah.
Fun thing to see. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, all this stuff is a guess, anyways, and anything can happen. So,
Right, it's always tough. But
like,
go on.
and again, in any sort of this media, if you don't come out and say a definite, people are going to trash on you anyways. So you got to say definite, and some are going to be a win, some are going to be a really bad loss, and others are going to be a loss that you're really happy about. So
I'm ready. I'm ready to prepare my next W. So I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna say it right now. I have a prediction. You guys ready for this prediction? You ready?
Sure.
Here it
Yeah.
is. I predict that next September there will be another General Nintendo Direct. You heard it here
No.
first.
God.
Yeah.
You want to start the ball rolling on the PS6 predictions too?
So I believe that it will have a controller, and actually, watch there not be a PS6. Watch they just go like full like Google Stadia or something. Yeah, there will be a Nintendo Direct next September. You heard it here first. But let's check with the chat, and then we'll actually jump into the discussion here. Oh, let me finish my point. Yeah, so it was an A.
Oh, yes.
It was really good. It was okay. So like, is it the best Nintendo Direct of all time? No, but it's definitely a really good one. It's definitely like one of the top ones. And we're talking about September Direct, not an E3 Direct. Like, there's a different expectation there, right? They went a little bit beyond my expectations, and I expected them to do really well. I would say meeting expectations is like a B in my opinion. And they went beyond that. So it's an A. There we go.
B plus and A are very, very similar scores.
Yeah,
so I
but
feel
A
like-
is better.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
talking about the game industry where anything under an 80 is unplayable garbage.
Yeah.
and-
Unplayable garbage. Right.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna look at the game
In
with
indie
73
game-
rate and be like, I want to play this.
I mean, an indie game, no, I can't play that.
7.9 too much
Oh,
water.
oh my goodness, your graphics drop below 1080p for one frame. Oh, it's over. Game's useless.
Have you seen people doing the Kirby AAA $60 game? They just keep showing this one shot of Kirby in the Forgotten Land that looks a little blurry, and they just but people are not like comparing it to like a AAA game. They're like just showing like some random thing, like, oh, here's a Metroid, Kirby AAA $60 Nintendo game. Metroid PNG. Oh, Kirby, $60 AAA game. The stick man. So, yeah.
The thing with Kirby though is it's a B grade game from Nintendo. Now, granted, it's like literally an A grade from pretty much any other studio, but people don't want to talk about that. They want to compare it to Mario, and that's the only reason why it is considered a B rated game is because, you know, everything Mario exists. Because otherwise, that's like, what else do we have for platformers that's like actually big right now? Like big name, long
Ratchet and Clank
platformers
on Nintendo.
That's kind of a platformer.
Like on like pretty much anywhere. Platformers died years ago.
Yeah.
And like,
what would you call Ratchet and Clank? More of like a third-person action adventure?
Like again, you can call
kind
it
of a blurred lines.
You can put it wherever. But wait, what? All I'm saying is like, quality-wise, like Kirby's quality, like it's a solid game. It's just, it's not the name power, which is why they, like, it gets considered a B grade game, is because it's not the big character.
I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't consider Kirby AAA development though. I mean, I guess what is the definition of AAA development?
That's the problem.
I don't know.
People are like, oh, how much money you put into it?
Is
like,
every Nintendo game they make AAA?
How much money you spend marketing it?
Like,
so it's a big mess.
I mean, Kirby's made by HAL, just for the record. Like, that's...
Yeah.
If you Google AAA, it's kind of like an informal thing, so, you know.
Yeah, it always will be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, we can talk about, like, game budgets, but at the same time, so if it's only the biggest game budgets, then, you know, you're going to be missing out.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think most people...
Like, what is biggest game budget? Like, where does that get cut off?
Kirby's definitely not on the same tier as Mario or Zelda, or Splatoon, or Animal Crossing. Like, it's definitely, like... at least one tier below that, if not two. But let me get to the chat. We're gonna talk about Kirby. We're talking about Kirby because this time Kirby. Whoa, this is one of my most hyped games in a very long time.
Kirby you can get hyped for.
I'm buying this game, and there's no doubt about it in my mind. Unless I die, I'm not gonna die. Don't worry. Or if I grow broke.
You don't know that.
I'll find a way.
Life finds a way.
D Fox, you're hyped for Kirby 2? Awesome. Ronnie Fazio, hello there. Hello there, hello. Hello there, Birdman. Hello there, Yellow Kazoo. Thanks for modding, my friends. Hello there, Super Chris. Thomas Owen added me. How you doing? I still can't believe Metroid Dread is a real game. What a time to be alive, right? Like, so yeah, you know, like we're already excited about 2022. Like 2022 is looking to be maybe finally the peak year, right? I talked about it yesterday in my video, but this year's still fine. We're about to get Metroid Dread in like less than 2 weeks, and then there's gonna be we're gonna play Mario Party, and then we're gonna play Shin Megami Tensei 5, and then most of us are gonna skip Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, and then we're gonna play Advance Wars, and then we're gonna play Legends Arceus in January. Okay, look, if you want to play Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, it's totally okay. I may still buy it. I don't know, but it's another good game that's coming. Well,
I swear, if
I'm not
I
gonna
buy
get
that
it.
game, then I'll do something. It's not gonna happen.
Play Shin Megami Tensei 5. Oh, there's other just games to play. Monkey Ball is coming out 3 days before Metroid Dread, and
Ooh, Monkey Ball, yeah.
I want that too. I want it, and actually, I want to pick up Cruisin' Blast. Like that's another fun little game right there. And I just finished No More Heroes 3.
Like Cruisin' 64, so I'm not as into it.
Yeah.
Like Cruisin' USA. I wanted that Cruisin' USA with like now graphics. That's what I wanted, but this is very different.
Oh yeah, it is not the same. It's not AAA, but yeah, there's just it's a good time. It's a good time right now. There's just a lot to be excited about, and Metroid Dread is right around the corner. Yeah, it's gonna be huge. Hello there, Rescue Squad Club. Hello there, Nintendo Doge. Zelda Sheikah Warrior 94, Kirby hype indeed, and Nintendo 64 hype. It's not just Nintendo 64 games coming to Switch. It's not just that we're getting Banjo-Kazooie as well. It's not just the implication that also means maybe other rare games in the future. It also is that these N64 games are going to have online multiplayer, which matters way more than the NES and SNES games, because Nintendo 64 games, a lot of them were built around multiplayer. That was a big deal for them. 4-player, like that was like kind of like its thing, like split screen, all of that was a big deal on the N64. That's what it was like, its big selling point besides just 3D graphics. And a lot of these games are going to have online multiplayer. Star Fox 64, online multiplayer. Mario Kart 64, online multiplayer. Smash 64, online multiplayer. Like, there's going to be Mario Party. There's just so much there. And if Nintendo can pull this off, I don't think they will. But they surprised me already. I don't think they're going to get Golden. I don't think they're going to get GoldenEye.
Oh yeah, I have no confidence in that.
I don't think they're going to get GoldenEye.
I said so, like, during the direct.
But if they could,
wouldn't that be big though?
It would be huge because it'd be GoldenEye online. It would be huge.
And I mean, like,
it'd be the best thing ever.
If people actually remember playing 4-player GoldenEye, when like a room just lights up with explosions, you know, lag won't matter at that point in time.
Okay,
it'll just be like,
I'm hoping
back in the day.
It will run well. We'll get 30 FPS. Nice, smooth 30 FPS.
We're gonna have a really good discussion tonight, guys.
Because I imagine a big benefit to this will be that games won't run like trash anymore. Like the original system.
I still worry about their latency.
I don't care. So the, this is, I'm gonna, I.
They run well.
All right, look, guys who stay into the latter half of the discussion, because we're gonna talk about Nintendo Direct stuff first. You will be blessed with Metroid Prime discussion. And let me just tell you, right now, we're talking about GoldenEye Online, and I know that we're going to talk about a Metroid Prime remake rumor later, and the Metroid music in the background just hit, and I gotta tell you, I'm getting some ideas. I feel like I've hinted enough already, but they're just ideas that I think make sense. But anyway, let me just catch up with the chat here, and then we'll jump into the discussion. I'm sorry, I'm still hyped. Like, I didn't realize how hyped I was until we started talking about things. Yeah.
You're always hyped when it comes to Metroid.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, stop. You're gonna make me scream. I'm excited. ASAP Row, hello. Who else but Zane? Dang it, Andres, my headphones aren't fully charged. Postpone the show. Everything looking sexy though. Thank you. Hopefully you heard that already. Elvinar, it's good, sweet. We are gonna talk Metroid soon, my friends. Birdman, think for yourself, question authority. I see. Okay, I know where that's coming from. Sonic, do you think the Kirby game is a 3D world type game or Odyssey type game? Either way, exciting. All right, we're gonna get to Kirby. Kirby's the first thing we're talking about. Okay, yeah. we're opening up the discussions with that.
I've seen people break down the trailer and look at it, and I have some knowledge on this. So
what a time to be a Nintendo fan. This is the golden age, but we'll get there. ASAP, bro. The Direct was great, but because all the games shown are coming in 2020, unlike another showcase. Haha. There's a rhyme with live.
You gotta.
Or Hive.
I think most of the big games are coming out next year for Nintendo as well.
Or Dive.
The other companies are in a really rough spot. Like, if sales, like, say chips just aren't coming out and sales aren't happening right now, Nintendo is okay. I think Nintendo's in a really lucky position as to like when everything in the market crashed, because
I think the companies are doing fine enough. I mean, they've already sold, I think, 10 million each.
Yeah.
So they're not like doing. It's not bad. It's not
Not
like they're out
bad.
there with
It's
like
not what they-
2 million units or something.
Yeah, it's not what they'd want though.
No.
Like 10 million is still like a failed generation. Now, granted, it's
Yeah,
still early.
clearly not,
Not
but
even
like
a year.
right now, but like it's probably not sitting where they want it to be at when you're talking about like scalpers, the shortages and everything else. Like they
It's
can't
also
be
tough
pleased.
because
You have to
like
be a little bit concerned.
the standards for the industry are changing because a lot of people can, if they don't care about visuals or performance that much, they can still play like most of the games on their older systems. And that's becoming more and more commonplace, more standard. I mean, they did it last generation too, but now it seems to be even more expected. Like, there's no rush. I'm in no rush. I thought that I won't want a PS5.
They have backwards compatibility though, so they do have really good benefits to upgrade just to play the games you're already playing.
But you're speaking from like a tech head perspective, right? Like for the layman, for like the mainstream person, like as long as they're not exclusives, it's not that much of a. It's just. I'm not saying people don't want it, right? Like people, I. How much can I say?
People definitely want it. That's for
people.
Sure.
People buy hardware every year, and I'm just talking about hardware across the board, even when they're just marginal improvements. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. There. I mean, it's also. I mean, again. I think you guys already alluded to it, but like right now it's just hard to even pick up these systems, right? It's hard to manufacture these systems. It's not even so much a demand issue; it's a supply issue. So you know,
the supply issue everywhere. They're talking like this Christmas. We're looking at massive toy shortages of anything that has a chip in it, including any toy that makes sound.
Yeah, well, I mean, those
like we're talking like there's
low priority.
Crazy.
Like, but at the same time, like when you're looking at everything else in the market. Everyone's putting money in. It's not like this.
But I don't think there'll be a long. I think it will get better. I don't think it's going to get worse or stay the same for too long.
We've been saying that for over a year, and it just seems to be spreading to like more and more places. And I still can't buy a graphics card.
No, yeah.
I want one.
Can't buy those. I want one too.
All right, let me just kind of get through the chat here. Let's see here. Gone Hunter, Kirby, Splatoon 3, and Bayonetta 3 were the most fire. I concur. Well, there's a couple others that hype me up too, but those are definitely, yeah. If there's a top 5, those 3 are in it. Who else but Zane? I predict tonight will be dark. Huh? There's light in here. There's light in my heart. Alright. Let's see. The chat is lit. Thank you guys for being lit and just keeping the conversation going. I'm going to... I'll read a couple more here. Thomas on Metroid Prime talk about a hook. I'm staying to the end. Awesome. Great. I look forward to seeing you towards the end. Birdman. To me, I think the best third-party developer has got to be Bethesda because Doom Eternal, Doom, etc. are one of the best-looking Switch games on the platform. They definitely have pushed the hardware for sure with some of their games.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
But they're not going to be continuing on.
Doom Eternal definitely surprised me with how it looked on the Switch. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It ran better than the first game. It looked better too.
There's a lot of stuff right now that I'm really surprised with how it's looking on the Switch.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's talk about Kirby. Let's get things started with Kirby. So, actually, should we talk about Smash first? I promised Kirby, so we'll talk about Kirby first. Talk about Kirby
Probably
first.
a good choice.
Yeah. So, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. That's it's just like. Brandon, you and I had a little discussion.
Yeah.
And that video came out while I was on my vacation. And we talked about the premise of there being a 3D Kirby. That was the video. It was the premise. How would a 3D Kirby would work? And I think we ultimately came down to the idea that it would be Kirby, and it could be kind of similar to a 3D Mario, but I think we kind of sided with the idea of it being maybe like the isometric style of gameplay, like 3D World.
Right.
And based off the footage, it seems to be along those lines. I'm not saying everything's exactly like that, but that's kind of how it seems to look. And I mean, I'm very impressed with it. I think it looks pretty awesome. And it looks fun. And you know what? When Hal said that they were going to make the most ambitious Kirby game yet, and when we looked at Star Allies, and we're like, well, what can you do beyond this very beautiful HD crisp 2D Kirby with multiple characters on screen and co-op? What's beyond that? Well, the natural mental leap was 3D, but it also seemed like too good to be true because Kirby, I think, what came out, 1992? And we've never seen a full 3D years. Kirby game? Right. Except now, 30 years. Next year, it'll be 30 years. Kirby will release, and it'll be its first 3D adventure foray. And I'm impressed. I'm ready.
Big deal. It's a big milestone for the series.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, from what I've seen, and obviously we've seen so little of the game, it's hard to say for sure, but what I've seen from other people who looked at the trailer and their thoughts on it were basically that this is a sort of, it's like 3D World, but the environment is more connected, so it's like one, more like a big
It
map.
doesn't look cookie cutter, but the camera style is isometric like 3D World.
But it seems like you can't go everywhere, like in Mario Odyssey. There's definitely like gated off areas that it looks like you can't go to, and it looks like pretty much all of the area of the map has really clever ways of not looking obvious, but definitely being played like blocks, like kind of leading you, shuffling you into different areas, trying to lead you on a sort of wide open path. So it definitely doesn't seem like you can go everywhere, or that it's like just an open world. It definitely seems like it's levels with paths, but they're more open. There's more areas to explore inside those paths, if that makes sense. And it did seem like the path leads to the boss, because in that mall area, you actually can see the big ape creature jump over the mall. So it seems like the whole level kind of leads you to that boss fight. So, but obviously, it's hard to say for certain. We've barely seen it in the game. Those barriers that look, the way it looks like natural barriers, but maybe you can go beyond it. We don't know. So
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, I'm gonna venture to guess that the game is not open world, right? It doesn't look like a sandbox style kind of game either. I think it is. I think a fair comparison is 3D World, but better. Because 3D World does feel very cookie cutter. Feels more linear. Maybe it's somewhere in between those two, but I mean, you see it does. If you were to take out Kirby and put in Mario, you'd be like, oh, it's a Mario game. Like it does kind of feel like that, which is fine because it's a 3D platform, and that's what Mario is. So I think it looks great. I will say I saw someone ask in the chat in Specia Videos, when is the new Kirby game coming? Spring 2022. So that could that basically means we'll get it before E3 next year. So that's not far from now.
April or May.
Yeah. Well, Triangle Strategy comes out March 4th. And Nintendo's publishing that. I don't know if they're going to put something else in that month. They could, because they did that this year with 3D World plus Bowser's Fury and Bravely Default 2. I think they were like 2 weeks apart in February, if I remember correctly. So it's tough to say. But
with Triangle Strategy is I feel that's probably going to sell like 1 to 2 mil units early on, and it might not have legs after that. But the thing is, that game is going to hit a very different audience than a lot of other games. But
they need to start actually pushing that game more. It's barely talked about it.
Well, they just came back from their demo where they redid so much. That studio is so good. Oh my god.
Octopath Traveler was amazing, so I'm looking forward to this just because of that.
And the fact that they do a demo and then they actually take everything in, and then you don't hear about it for like 6 months or something, and they come back and like, here's all the changes we made because you guys suggested it, and this game looks phenomenal.
I do like
Like,
that. I just wish they would market it, at least like put ads up for it. Like, I never see anything for this game. I forgot it exists until it's direct, and I feel like that's not really good if you want it to actually sell.
It's been in the back of my head the whole time. The thing is, I don't know how well this hits a mass market. I think it hits a niche. I think it's a very niche game.
Talking about Triangle Strategy,
but
right?
Yeah.
Because Kirby and the Forgotten Land's gonna sell
but-
50 million copies.
Wow. Yeah. Well, clearly. But you know, like Triangle Strategy, like it is niche, but it hits its niche so well, and Octopath Traveler hit it so well that it sold incredibly. You know, it hits the niche, but it hits that market really, really hard. So they can release something else. Like they could straight up release Splatoon at the same time, and neither would have any effect on the other one at all. Because I don't think anyone looking at Splatoon, other than select few individuals, are really going to be looking at both of those. In like the mass, like when you're looking at like Splatoon,
I get you.
Splatoon 3 has a chance of selling like 15-20 million units. But by the end of its life, you're not. The vast majority of that is not buying Triangle Strategy.
No.
So like you could drop the two of them at the same time; it wouldn't affect anything. And I think it's not just that. I think there's a lot. Like I honestly,
I don't think Splatoon 3 is coming out in March anymore, though.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't. You think it will?
The problem is I don't know, but there's one thing that was missing from that trailer that I think a lot of people didn't notice.
All right, well, let's hold on Splatoon 3. Let's hold off on it.
I got something fun for that one.
Yeah, let's reel it back a little bit. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the best game that they showed off in the Direct. It's the objective truth. I mean, okay, look, it's not that it may not go down as the best game that was shown off in that Direct. Like when we get review scores, like Splatoon 3, Bayonetta 3, I don't know. I don't know. Like this game, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, could go down as like the most hype, biggest, best Kirby game ever. Like I don't think that's a stretch, actually.
The thing is, it's a big question mark. You don't know. It's such a departure. If they nail it, it goes down as one of the best ever.
Well, I'll tell you that it
goes down as them like talking about it like side by side with Mario. It goes down like there's a lot of
the game that had the most attention though, from terms of like views and trending. Like Kirby is the big deal. Like Kirby is number one out of everything that was in the Direct. That's brought in the most attention, but it's also the most new thing. Bayonetta 3 was second, but Bayonetta 3 we knew was a thing, but still pretty hype. But Kirby, I think of everything there. Granted, Splatoon 3 had its reveal, right? Like so, that's it's not fair for Splatoon 3 because that's just Splatoon 3's second trailer. But yeah, I think this Kirby game's gonna. I'm buying it, right? Like whenever I see Kirby games, I'm like, maybe, probably not. Though this is no, I'm getting it. I don't need any more information. I'm getting this. This is the Kirby game I've been waiting for since the beginning.
The first Kirby game I actually buy myself. Because before I usually just played Kirby games like on other people's copies on their systems, and I'm like, it's okay.
So
and then I played the Star Allies demo. I was like, this is boring as hell.
I played the demo too, and it didn't really. I didn't like it that much either. It wasn't bad. It just seemed kind of basic. My first Kirby game was actually Kirby 64 Crystal Shards on the Nintendo 64, and I thought that was awesome.
You could
right?
replay that one soon.
Yeah, it's coming to Nintendo 64 online, which is awesome. But like that was my
Kirby game was the Game Boy.
But
I don't even remember what it was.
Oh.
Well, I really like Canvas Curse on the DS. That one I enjoyed a lot. I should have played Robobot, but I didn't.
If you like Triple Deluxe, then Robot's just like a better Triple Deluxe.
But anyway, I've always kind of like waited, like back when I played Kirby Crystal Shards on Nintendo 64. I really enjoyed that game back then. I loved it, but I was always like, Mario got a 3D went to full 3D. Zelda went to full 3D. Mario Kart was, well, I guess 3D, kind of. But like most of the Donkey Kong went 3D. Star Fox went 3D. Star Fox was always 3D actually. But you get my point. Pokemon had 3D on the console, on Stadium as well. Like basically most of Nintendo's big sort of adventure platformers were all 3D. Kirby was the only one that stayed 2D, and even as a kid, you're like, huh, why? Right? You kind of wondered. But now we finally are getting it, and it's interesting because we look at it and we do. The first thought is, oh, this looks kind of like a Mario game, right? Like visually, it holds up to kind of that level. And Brandon, I know you and I were kind of like debating, oh, which one looks better, Odyssey or this? I still feel like the debate's out on that, because I think Odyssey looks pretty good.
I think it depends on what parts of the game you look at. So,
yeah.
Both games have their advantages and disadvantages.
Well,
I mean, Mario Odyssey's at 60 FPS.
It's also more open.
Looks like it's probably going to be 30.
So, seemingly. Like, Odyssey's larger environments.
Odyssey also has environments that look much better than other environments. So, you don't know what's in Kirby right now. They might have some incredible environments that just blow your mind.
I will say the material
they might not.
Kirby looks way better.
Their environments might just like that might be the best you see is right there, and everything's a like sharp downgrade from there. Like you don't know until it comes out.
I don't know.
But
yeah, the material quality on Kirby looks a lot better. A lot of the materials look a lot more realistic than in Mario Odyssey. They look very basic and samey a lot of times.
I'm very curious how this game's gonna play though.
Textures were better.
Did you guys notice how like Kirby was doing backflips in the trailer?
Yeah, I noticed that a lot. He was doing all kinds of cool moves.
Yeah,
his animation is very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I guess another comparison to Odyssey is that he copies powers and uses them, which is more of a Kirby thing to begin with. But it's ideal for a platformer because a lot of platformers, what they do is they give you powers that are temporary power-ups, and that's kind of like what Kirby's always been built around. But it's interesting, right? Because they focus on the sword, which is a trademark one for Kirby with the green hat, so it's kind of like, paying homage to Zelda. But you see him fight the giant monkey boss, but it's just kind of funny. Like that trailer reminds you of The Legend of Zelda with the backflip and the sword attacks and the hat. But then you look at the giant gorilla, it's like, oh, is it Donkey Kong? And there was also the trees that made you think Donkey Kong as well. And then like just from a gameplay perspective, like because it's a platform, you think Mario. Like this thing, like this trailer reminded you of Donkey Kong, Mario, and Zelda, but it's Kirby. So I'm kind of curious, like, how Kirby is this game going to feel once everything's said and done,
I imagine we'll have to wait till probably January, and then we'll get all of these questions solved in a direct. I feel like there's still so much they have to tell us. Obviously, they've just showed us the one trailer, and they didn't really even say anything about it much. I feel like there's just a shit ton of stuff we don't know about this game.
I'm curious if they can do a demo.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
It'd be one of those things. Like I'm not a big platformer, but I'd check it out in a demo, and like I'm just curious how it handles, like how it feels in comparison.
Star Allies got a demo.
Sorry?
Star Allies, yeah, it did get a demo.
Yeah, I just don't think. For example, we're not getting a Metroid Dread demo, right?
No.
We're not gonna get a Breath of the Wild 2 demo, right?
Definitely not.
We didn't get a demo for Super Mario Odyssey. Splatoon 3 will get a test fire because they need to test how the online works.
Yep.
So for online games, it's a little different. But for single player games that I think Nintendo has a lot of confidence in, they don't put demos out for them.
Well, it depends on their confidence versus perspective. Like right now, it seems like everyone's pretty happy with it. My big thing is I'm curious as to how it handles, because I don't know, I've never thought of Kirby as being as, I don't know,
it's different. It's a different take for Kirby. So the question is it gonna feel like Mario or Zelda but a pink blob instead of them, or is it gonna feel like its own thing, like Kirby's power?
Kind of like
yeah.
No,
go on, I cut you off, sorry.
No, it's all good. Like all I'm saying is like I personally, for me, as someone who's not big into platformers, unless I can and try it out in a demo, there's basically no chance that I'm actually going to spend money on it. It's just I'm not a platformer, so
I see what
unless
you're
there's
saying.
something that really like draws me in
Yeah.
from like a demo gameplay perspective, where it's like I really enjoyed the way it felt, the way it handled, then I would want to
Did
go
you get
out and
Mario
buy it.
Odyssey?
But otherwise, no, I didn't.
Well, I mean, if you didn't, if Mario Odyssey is not gonna,
You
know,
didn't buy Mario
get,
Odyssey?
I mean, he
No,
doesn't like
I was
platformers.
actually,
What the hell
yes.
is wrong with you?
for starters, not someone who plays platformers. Second of all, I was playing a bunch of other games. And third off, there was a friend that was going to lend me their copy, but then whatever.
You
That
sound
didn't
like a
work
bunch of excuses.
Maybe you should go back to it.
Cannot
out. I
believe.
probably could.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched, like, the thing is I watch a lot of it. I don't play platformers, but I'll watch them. I've watched
I am like that with some series or
Like,
some types of
I-
games.
there's a few people
Mhm.
on YouTube that stream that
Mhm.
I have watched
Not with platforms.
every single freaking inch of that game.
Nah, I always get annoyed when I watch other people play like adventure or platform games because I'm like,
If it's
I
an
need to play there.
exploration type
I need to
game,
be
wanna-
that.
I want to.
I want to try
I wanna be
things
able to
there.
explore it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
I'm gonna
it-
be
it
like, no, go over
depends.
here. No, try this.
If
again.
it's like a
Enjoy
competitive
it,
game, I might watch a little bit because I want to learn. Or if it's, occasionally I'll watch
If it's a
someone play just to
story-driven
learn.
game,
But
I'll watch
yeah,
those. I like
Oh,
watching
competitive, I'll-
story-driven Let's Plays.
Competitive stuff I love watching, obviously.
yeah.
But things like Breath of the Wild, I'll watch Breath of the Wild. I love seeing people play Breath of the Wild for the first time. Just the wonder, the amazement. It's like, oh, are they going to stumble into this? Or are they not? Or like just to see how people try to solve the puzzles like that to me is so interesting.
Well, okay. So when I was saying
I love watching that.
I guess it depends. All right. So like when I was saying, I meant as like I can't watch something in place of playing it. Like, so for example, I have watched a lot of other people play Super Mario Odyssey after I played it. Because once I played it, I understood the game, I learned a lot about it, I explored a lot of the game already. I started to get more into, okay, what can I do with these mechanics? How much further can I jump? Can I get to that platform that I'm clearly not supposed to get to? And there's a lot of that. It's kind of like, I guess, the meta game or whatever you want to call it for Mario Odyssey, like just trying to do things that you're not supposed to do. Like, so I got into kind of like watching other people try that thing and seeing their strategies. So that I got into, right? But if like it was before I really got into the game, I'm like, no. I'm playing this on my own. Like, I don't really need to see that much for something that I want to play.
I watched other people do that while I hunted for Korok seeds.
Okay. Yeah, Korok seed hunting is a... Yeah.
I
So,
didn't bother with that.
Between Koroks, Splatoon, Xenoblade at the end of the year, stuff like that. Like I had plenty to play.
That was a
And
year, man.
There was like other than Splatoon, I think I had Mario Kart, Splatoon, ARMS, Breath of the Wilds. I don't even remember what else I had from that first year, but it was like stuff coming out. It's like, why am I going to buy anything else when I'm just going to play Breath of the Wild? I'm like, until I'm done with Breath of the Wild, I'm not going to spend a bunch of money on other games. And then by the time that was done, Xenoblade had rolled around, and I was playing Xenoblade. I'm not
Okay.
going to put that down. That game was so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, there's just so much to talk about. I mean, there's just too much to talk about. But let's.
I wanna bring up a game. There is a game. You speak of demos. There is a
Okay.
game, the Direct, that got a demo, and I forget the name of it, but it's that card-based RPG game that they showed.
Oh yeah,
and
I
I
got a
want to
demo?
try that. I think it did. I'm pretty sure.
I heard.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'm actually
And,
curious
I
about
think it's called
Try it.
the
I'm
Isle
super
Dragon
into board
Wars
games and
or
card
something.
games, and I'm always interested in them doing like video game versions of those kind of stuff. This seems like a unique thing, like its own thing. It's like what you can do with a video game based card game.
Voice
that
of
you
Cards,
can't
the
do with
Isle Dragon
a normal
voice.
card
It's
game.
only $3 too, and there is a demo. Yeah,
I might have to check that out after.
yeah, and you can. It's up to 4 players, so you know you probably could play. I'm assuming 4 people on one system, or maybe not. I'm not sure.
Probably
sure.
online, or maybe on one system. I have no idea.
I mean, like if you can play 4 players on one system, then it's kind of like you can kind of use it in place of a board game, you know.
Yeah.
But let's continue on here. And to your point from earlier from Brad, there is a lot more we need to learn for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Let's see if anyone's bringing anything up in the chat here in relation to that. There's quite a few things. It's easier for me if you guys at me, just for the record. Knucklehead, my biggest concern with Kirby is the length of the game. Well,
It's a big concern with every game now.
I'm
not really concerned with things like that these days. I just want it to be really good. As
Yeah.
long as it's good, I'm not
I mean,
too concerned if it's super long or not.
See, there's 2 ways of going about it. There's either you want to. I feel like going for a longer game is almost not really the best way to design it at this point in time, because you're never going to get like 40 hours out of a game like that. What you need to do is design for replayability.
I agree.
So like if it's a 5-hour run, 6-hour run, start to finish in the game, but there's a ton of replayability, people are going to get 20, 30, 40 hours out of it.
Yeah, it depends what it
It's
is.
quite
More,
that short. I'm thinking like 10 to 15 hours, maybe 20.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a 6-hour game. I think it's gonna be 10 plus. I mean, there's obviously gonna be collectibles and hidden things to find. So if you're gonna go back for that, I will tell you that I love it, especially for platformers when Mario specifically, when you can collect a certain thing, and if you go that extra mile, if you get all of that particular thing, or you get a high number, they then give you like a secret level or a secret world to explore. So that's cool to me. So I just kind of hope they do that. They reward you for kind of going back and collecting things with like more to play. I'm not saying for this whole second campaign, but if you offer like just another secret area to explore, like a secret level that maybe adds another hour or 2 of gameplay to reward you for kind of taking more time to explore everything. And if they include like, sure, maybe if there's like, I don't know, maybe not New Game Plus, but some sort of like, you know, something to kind of get you to replay the game again or something like that. Or if it's simply just kind of going back to levels and trying to get those items you couldn't get before, like there's something they could do there. And I'm always down for harder difficulty, so if there's some way they can design the game so there's additional difficulty there, I'm down for that. But so I'm not really concerned. I think typically most platformers that come from Nintendo, if you want there to be more, you can find more. Like maybe the main campaign, if you don't go for the 100%, it's not super long, but it's never like ridiculously short either. It's like an acceptable amount.
This is going to be the first 3D Kirby, so I'm not sure. Like a lot of their time is going to be spent figuring out how they want the game to actually like function, because they've never done this before. So this game might be shorter, and maybe a sequel comes along that could be longer because they're more used to how the game, like how they want the game to function and everything like that.
Yeah,
and when it sells 50 million units, they'll probably do DLC for it.
Actually, on that note, Hello put this out there. I'm assuming that Hello's talking about Kirby. Hello said, if you look at the like-dislike ratio of the trailer, the dislikes is a single atom compared to the likes. It's also the most viewed trailer from the Direct. So if this sells under 3 million, then I don't know what. I think this is gonna be maybe. It's at least. I think it's at least outselling Star Allies.
I think it's a 10 million seller easy.
I think it outsells Star Allies.
I think it's going to be hard pressed for a game like that. Like it would be shocking for a game like that to sell under like 6 to 8 mil, like on the low end, with how many units are out there now for the Switch. It's gonna before when we're talking like, oh, it crossed 1 or 2 million. That's amazing. It's like, well, there's a lot more units now, so we're kind of expecting bigger numbers.
The thing is, it's like everyone knows what Kirby is, but not everyone wants to buy the most latest Kirby game. But this is the Kirby game that people are like, oh, I like Kirby. I've played 1 or 2 in the past. I'm getting this one. That's this Kirby. You know what I mean? Like, well, not everyone was sold on Star Allies or the previous one, but this is the one that if you are even somewhat of a fan of a Kirby, you're going to be intrigued by.
Kirby has a pretty dedicated fan base. And this is going to, like, my expectation of this game is that it's going to reach beyond that fan base at a decent margin as well. So you're going to see the typical Kirby sales plus, like, people that are just interested in the move to 3D, people that are just interested in another 3D platformer that has a big name behind it and a known studio.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I've never bought one. I'm gonna buy it. So there's
50 million.
One person.
I'm joking about 50 million, just for the record.
I'm gonna buy 40 million copies, and then everybody else is gonna buy 10.
There you go. All right, Brandon, you're buying 40. Maybe buy me lunch too while you're at it. Yeah. But I think Kirby's gonna do really well. I think Hal's going all out here, so I'm looking forward to learning more about this game. But yeah, we're already close to an hour, and we've only talked about one game, so we got to move on. Yeah. So let's talk about Smash. Let's talk about Smash here, guys in the chat. Leaving a like would be appreciated. Talking in chat would be appreciated. If we could get even higher viewers in the chat, would be great. We just broke 100, which I appreciate. We've been able to hit like 100 concurrent viewers since I've come back every time, just barely. So that's awesome. Keep the chat going. But yeah, let's talk about Smash now. So we didn't get a Smash reveal trailer. They didn't open up with a Smash reveal trailer. They opened up with Monster Hunter, which we'll talk about right after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's twice now.
I think they're trying to get us used to no longer having Smash being the opener. But instead, we are getting the final Sakurai Presents. The final one. As in the last one. As in no more after this. Period. Not no more for Fighters Pass Volume 2. No more. Period. This is it. Last. For Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. There will not be another Sakurai Presents for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Smash Bros. Ultimate Deluxe on the Switch 2.
There you go.
That's when we can expect more.
Maybe. Yeah. So, we're getting this on, what, October 5th? Yeah, October 5th.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I didn't think that they were going to do this. I actually thought that they were just going to do a trailer and then we would know who it is and then we'll watch the final Sakurai Presents. But I guess the reason they're doing this, it is actually inviting a bit more attention to it.
Right.
So in a way, I think they're setting themselves up for some backlash. They did it before.
No matter what they do, they're setting themselves up for backlash. I mean, and releasing anything is setting themselves up for backlash.
When was the last time they did this? Did they do it with Byleth?
The game existing invites backlash.
Was it Byleth though, where they said, "Hey, look, we have."
Is horrible sometimes.
They didn't reveal Byleth in a direct, right? Byleth was revealed in the Sakurai Presents, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, so. That
they hyped that one up and everyone was like, oh, they're doing it only in the thing, it must be the best character ever in it, and then it was Fire Emblem. So guys, don't think just because there's a separate event that this is going to be your favorite character that you've been hoping for 20 years or however long.
Yeah, I've seen some people.
Be a Pokemon. Let's hope not, but it might be a Pokemon.
Chat has already said Cinderace and Bidoof. So
Bidoof
some
for
people
Smash,
just want to see the world burn.
I think Bidoof is a good one. I'd love Bidoof.
That'd be hilarious.
How funny would that be?
Bidoof would be. I would be hyped because I'd be like, Sakurai has trolled the hell out of us.
I would just laugh.
So
laugh. I really don't even care what the last character is at this point. I just want to know what it is.
Yeah, I'm curious, but yeah.
Of this Smash hype cycle at this point. It's been so long that I'm just done with it. I'm just like, I'm glad it's drawn to a close. I enjoyed it while it lasted, but I'm glad that it's ending. The past 3, I'm good.
Yeah,
I
I
want to know what the
just
Smash character is, and then I'm good. I'll
I'm
wait
curious
until
how
Smash
the
Deluxe.
community's gonna act at like when it's done, like when they're not looking for it in every direct
know.
and not
I actively
every
try to stay
trailer
out
and-
of every Smash community possible because they're typically the worst.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see
Other
how
than Pokemon
Nintendo
communities, they're
sort
definitely
of.
the four worst.
You know what
Right.
though? I think Nintendo had 2017 their best year ever, and then in 2018 they used Smash Ultimate to carry them all the way up until 2022, which will be their next best year ever. Like that's kind of what it is. Like we're not gonna notice the Nintendo's gonna be fine in 2022 because it's gonna be a really hype year where they don't really need Smash announcements. But you know, what happens in 2023? Well, maybe at that point we're talking about the next Nintendo system, so that'll carry them, and then they'll be fine, I guess. But I mean, actually,
Odyssey too.
I mean, even yeah. I mean, there's honestly a lot of things, but like you think about it with Fire Plus Volume 2, it's been more spread out already, you know, and they've been fine. Like we get 3 big directs a year, like, and that's where they're revealed pretty much. I mean, obviously there's some exceptions, like for example, Sephiroth at the Game Awards. But basically, you know, three reveals in a year, and Nintendo is fine. There's just so much for them to kind of show off. I don't think it's gonna be bad, but at the same time, Smash definitely has like
the entirety of 2022 by itself.
Sure, but it is going to be an
doesn't
interesting
even have
transition. They'll just have to rely on just other stuff. Like, okay, so for example, this time around, the hype thing, like the thing that everyone's talking about the most is Kirby. Because it's Kirby's first big foray into 3D, right? And then at E3 was Metroid Dread. Like, it's not... Nintendo hasn't been relying on Mario or Zelda or Smash lately to kind of, like, drum up the excitement. It's been some of their smaller stuff, right? So what if, like, next Direct, it isn't Smash? It's like, hey, here's F-Zero. Who would have thought we would have made one of those, you know? And then maybe, you know, like the next E3, it's like Star Fox or probably Donkey Kong. Like, you know, like Nintendo doesn't need to have a Smash character. Instead, they're gonna give us games, like just games that were like, oh man, this is awesome. I didn't expect this. Like, I think we're gonna be fine once we get past like relying on Smash characters for hype. I haven't really been. Personally, like I've been fine. Like, yeah, okay, a Smash character is cool, but that's always like, oh yeah, there'll be a Smash character. I'm kind of more focused on everything else by this point. But yeah, in terms of who the character's gonna be, I mean, it's also to your point, Brandon. I'm not saying I'm in a way. Perhaps I'm somewhat tired of the Smash discussion in the sense that I feel like I've already made my points a million times already. Like it's kind of redundant.
Yeah.
Like we don't know who it's gonna be. There's so many options. Take your pick. You're probably gonna be wrong, because there's so many options. But, you know, we'll see. I'll tell you that if it's Badoo for Waluigi, I'll be okay with that. I'll be okay with whatever it is.
I actually kind of enjoy it at this point.
Bidoof, I think, would be fantastic. I'd love to. I just want to see everyone go nuts.
Yeah. At this point, I just want to see chaos. Because I've already got on my fill of Smash characters. I know a lot of people there's still some people want like Sora, for example, or Crash. Like those are all great. Master Chief people keep bringing up, and I don't think Master Chief is impossible.
Happens, I will die.
Don't die.
I will die from excitement and confusion.
If it's a video game character, I feel like it's still on the table.
You know what?
Like,
you know what?
Master
What
Chief
blows my mind?
is on the table. Like it doesn't.
Oh, I
like,
think Kratos is
like,
off the table.
It might not be likely, but
Kratos is off the table.
Again, it's not likely, but I don't think it's off the table at this point. They've straight up said anime characters are off the table, and that's fine.
Goku,
but
that would blow my mind.
Yeah,
because that would.
But other than that, it's like I feel like anyone who wants to work with Nintendo on it, and they'd make it happen. Like if it was beneficial to everyone and they wanted to do it, they'd make it happen.
Yeah, I think Master Chief can happen.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but I think it could happen.
But I don't think it'll happen either. But
Well, I'll say
if
this.
it happened, I wouldn't be like, wow, I never saw that coming.
I'll say
'Cause we've been
this.
talking about it.
There have been the teases throughout the year of a Nintendo-Microsoft collaboration. And
Yeah,
while
we
we
got it.
do
It's gonna
know
show on
that
64.
Banjo-Kazooie is coming to Nintendo 64 Online, there wasn't much fanfare. It wasn't that big a deal. Does that single Banjo-Kazooie game coming to Nintendo 64 Online warrant all of the Nintendo Switch teases in the different official Microsoft streams? I don't think so.
Why not?
They
It's just
might
messing
not have
with you.
been teases. They might have just been like, we work with Nintendo a lot.
Yeah.
We've
I don't
already
know.
given you a ton of stuff.
I don't know. I
There's
think
a lot of
And we're
conversations.
giving
There's
you something that's pretty big, like Banjo. Like, people are super hyped for Banjo.
I don't know.
and it might even be something as much as, oh, hey, there's still one more Bethesda game that was in the works that we didn't can for the Switch.
I don't know.
I still think Bethesda games, as long as they're like games that would be capable of being ported to the Switch, I think this still will come. Microsoft did say that Nintendo Switch would still get Bethesda games. They just said it would be Xbox first
One quick
and
moment.
Xbox best. That was the way that I think they put it.
I don't know. It's curious to me how it's gonna all play out in the end, because they did talk about the like, people are already freaking out over PlayStation not getting Bethesda games, because they basically
Right.
said no, like there's
Yeah,
certain
they
games that
basically
were
did
just,
cut them out.
and it's like, so like there's still a lot of questions, and I wouldn't say anything's guaranteed out of Bethesda at this point. At this point, if we didn't see another Bethesda game on Switch, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And anything Bethesda that we do see come to Switch at this point in time, I'll just be happy for, because
I wouldn't be too surprised if we didn't see anything on, maybe one more thing on of Bethesda on the current Switch. But I would be surprised a lot if the next generation Switch didn't get some Bethesda games.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I feel like we're continually seeing Nintendo, Microsoft work together. I don't think that's going to stop. So I mean, I don't think it's going to be like ridiculous things. So I mean, I guess it's a tough call to see how many more Bethesda games we'll get. But how crazy would it be if we see all the scrolls on Nintendo and PC and Xbox, but not PlayStation? That'd be crazy.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. It'd be very mind blowing. But sometimes, it pays to play nice. Yeah. Let me check on the chat here. Troll Guy, we have not talked about Splatoon or Dread yet. We're not going to talk about Dread that much
There's
today.
nothing to say about Dread. We literally were like,
Yeah.
la 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 la, we're not to. Like,
I mean, Metroid Dread was in the trailer. It looks awesome. They showed off more areas. I'm super hyped for it. I really want it. I cannot wait. But at this point, like, I don't know. There was another Dread report. They showed off more areas, and there's some spoiler stuff. I'll tell you this, just my personal theory. I put out a video on it already. But I think the X-Parasite's that black goop that we see in the trailer. And I think it's consumed some of the Chozo Warriors, maybe even the Chozo Warrior. Hence the red eyes. We see some enemies with red eyes, even some boss characters. I think the red eyes is portraying some sort of X-Parasite variant consuming them. That's my theory on it. So take with that what you will. But checking in the chat here, Ronnie Fazio. The soccer presents also on the same day as Nick All-Star's Brawl release, which is funny. At this point, I don't know who the final character is. It is going to be Master Hand. What if? Justin Basil. Last Fighter is an old 1989 Nintendo playing card. Yes! That would be perfect. That would be it.
Man, that would be
that would
cool.
actually be awesome.
That would be brilliant. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's a great suggestion.
Here's an idea. Master Hand with those playing cards from 1980.
Oh. Hell yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that'd be
Man,
really interesting.
Yeah.
I like that.
That would be the game changer. People are like, what is this? And they'll be like, well, this is a Nintendo character. from Nintendo history. Yeah.
It's just called Nintendo. You want to fight Nintendo? I'm gonna play as Nintendo, guys.
So,
Last character should just be Sakurai.
what if he's like, yeah, I always imagine the Master Hand as me. And then it is Sakurai. So it's Sakurai, it's the Master Hand, and it's the old, like, Nintendo Hanafuda cards or something. Like, that would just be, like...
Yeah.
Like, it would just be crazy. That would be the way to end the Smash DLC. Like, if there's a way to have, like, a particular character be, like, the climactic reveal, that's it.
That requires an entire direct to talk about.
Yeah, either that or Bidoof.
We'll just go crazy.
Yeah.
Or Bidoof. Yeah.
Or Bidoof.
45 minutes of Bidoof in Smash.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
Let's go.
If you go by the history of Smash announcements, the last ones are never the best.
No. Yeah, I agree with you. I really like
They
Wild,
already got
but
their money.
They're often the ones people have the most controversy over.
So let's move on, because again there's so much to cover, and we will circle back to a lot of these things. As you guys ask questions in chat, when we get through all the topics, we'll focus more on the Q&A in the chat and stuff. But Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, that they opened up the direct with that. Brandon and I were like, oh, what is it? Is it a Capcom game, or it must be Castlevania?
The first
Actually,
thing I thought, because the stream was like having a weird bit of compression and I couldn't really see, and I was switching the phone, so hard to tell. I thought it was some kind of more 3D, 2D, HD Square Enix game.
interesting.
And I was like, what is this? And then the stream cleared up and I was like, oh, it's Monster Hunter.
I was like, oh, is this like a Castlevania kind of thing, right? Or is like, or maybe, then I thought maybe like a Resident Evil, and then I saw like there were some animals, and I was like, wait, why are the animals? Whoa, there's a dragon. Wait, that dragon is actually a wyvern, and it's a Rathalos. And then I joked, some people in my reaction were like, dude, Rathalos already in Smash. I know. That's why that's why I said it. Holy shit, guys, Rathalos in Smash. I know. But I was like, oh, but at first I was thinking, oh, is this like maybe like the Monster Hunter itself coming to Smash, right?
Right.
And then no, it kept going. It's like, wait, no, this is just DLC for Monster Hunter. But it's like the DLC. It's the expansion.
Yeah, this is the big one we were waiting for. Hopefully, it fixes a lot of problems that Rise has. So,
I also like how the naming is almost like a contrast to Iceborne, like ice, sun, fire. You know, even though I think it's a little bit of it's Sunbreak, so maybe it's more tying into like the darkness of the break of the sun or something. But there's like this bid rank.
Yeah, it's like
Sunrise,
sunrise,
Sunbreak.
Yeah. That's
It
how
all works out.
With Sunrise.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I love the aesthetic.
Oh yeah.
It's being described as an expansion as opposed to just a DLC. That there is like an implication there of
They
it being
confirmed a new rank.
Well,
which
this is
just almost certainly G rank.
Yeah, this isn't new for so anyone who's new to the Monster Hunter franchise. This is not new whatsoever. What they do is they release a game that has your low and your high rank. So what Rise was, and it's a full game. You play it, and then about a year or so later, they release the G rank version, which is another rank above high rank. They add more areas, more monsters. Another storyline. It's basically a full extra game on top of the game that was already there, except now they're able to do that as a DLC expansion rather than another game. And you were also historically able to take your you'd be able to take your Rise save and use it in Daybreak. So or Sunbreak. Like this is all fairly consistent with Monster Hunter. Think of it kind of like Pokemon having the third version, except no one's complaining that, they're paying money for the exact same content, because you do get another game's worth of content on top. And as far as the naming goes, it used to be called Ultimate for a lot of them, going back in the West. Ever since Monster Hunter World, they've been dropping the numbering system. So World was 5, and they've dropped that. Iceborne was the G rank. Sunbreak is the G rank, which they're actually referring to now as Master rank. So it's a big deal. It probably won't sell as well as Rise, but it's going to sell pretty well.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Do you
really
think it'll
like
have
them.
its own individual like retail release?
I
Not on PC, probably.
PC. It's so that's the other thing. The PC version of Monster Hunter Rise, which we've heard next to nothing about, it looks like they're not actually getting Monster Hunter Rise. They're getting Monster Hunter Rise Daybreak, summer 2022. So it looks. I'm hoping it's going to be day and date. But
Monster Hunter
anyways,
Daybreak. It's a different name.
Sorry, Sunbreak.
Oh, okay.
I'm still all messed
Okay.
up, but hey,
I didn't
but no,
even
they're
notice.
yeah. But they're gonna be getting the game same time, summer 2022 is the Switch. I'm hoping that it comes day and date, and I'm hoping
Yeah.
that without the excuse of the PC version is behind, that's why we can't do crossplay. I'm really hoping that we get some crossplay going.
If
I
the
think that would
PC
be
has
really big.
crossplay and it comes out at least close to the Switch, I'm buying the PC version and switching to that.
Interesting. I don't know. I do like that you're saying that Sunbreak is this is going to be basically like a whole other campaign. Like, so
Yeah.
we shouldn't be sleeping on it. Basically, like I think sometimes when they see DLC announcements, like okay, that's neat, but it's not as significant as a whole other game announcement. But this almost is. Right,
Yeah.
like this
Like,
is
like,
going to
again,
give us
we're-
like probably at least 30 to 40 hours more gameplay. Probably for if you're actually Monster, probably a few more 100 hours.
Depending on, because right now one of the problems people are having with Rise is they don't like the end game loop,
Hmm.
which is essentially hunt whatever, throw it in the melder, see what you get,
Hmm.
and that's pretty much it. And they're looking for something a little bit more structured and rigid, or something to grind up, rather than just an RNG grind. And so, depending on what kind of an end game loop they throw in for their system, you're basically looking at people going to be able to drop thousands of hours into it, and which is what they were expecting out of Rise, but a lot of people just didn't. Like it just didn't really resonate with them, and then the ongoing content just it wasn't great. Things like, this week's event quest is some stickers. Next week's is sunglasses. The week after,
Still think
more
they should add Ridley.
sunglasses.
I still think they should add Ridley.
Hey, look at that flagship monster from the trailer and tell me you don't think they can pop Ridley in there.
Right. I think they should add Ridley.
I think it would be so
Really
good.
hype, so.
Yeah.
Oh
They
man,
should
that'd be so good.
absolutely add Ridley. Maybe they designed it with that in mind.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, one thing they did say though, and on your Castlevania comment, so Rise had a lot to do with Japanese yokai, and
Yeah.
they're moving west for the expansion. So they're talking. So in on Twitter, they're talking about like knights, castles. So they're talking more Western stuff here, and so you're going to be seeing a more Western look for the DLC. So
Yeah.
people are talking vampires, stuff like that. So there could
It
be some
has
really cool
it
stuff
has a
coming out.
gothic look to it. Yeah. No, you're
Yep.
yeah, definitely. That was like why at first I was thinking Castlevania or like Resident Evil. Like that's definitely interesting. Super interesting.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
And it's coming this summer. It's not too far off. It's 9 months away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gonna hurt.
I mean this
It's gonna
this
be a
year
lot
is
of stuff at
looking
once.
looking strong.
Monster Hunter.
In terms of release timings, like we have Legends Arceus in January, we have Triangle Strategy in March. We know Kirby's coming out in spring, so before Monster Hunter Sunbreak, but then Sunbreak comes out this summer. It's like that's not some pretty good stuff there, right? And there will be more things that come out in that period. It's not going to just be that. But I think it's a good opportunity to transition to Splatoon 3 because we've talked about on the channel. We talked about Splatoon 3 like that seemed like maybe potentially a March release, but at the earliest, right? And it's looking like probably not because they didn't really tell us any sort of release timing. I
didn't really blow the game out. They just showed us a little more.
I at this point, I think it's a stretch to even say that Kirby's coming out at the end of March, but technically that would count for spring. So, they could pull that, but I think at this point, like maybe Splatoon 3 could come out right before E3, but I think at this point we're looking at like a mid to late summer release. What do you think? You're saying something's missing. What are you getting at?
Yeah, well, I've been looking at I've been basically thinking summer this entire time, not like early, but watch that trailer back and right at the very beginning, there's absolutely no disclaimer.
What does that mean?
That whole disclaimer of this is not finished footage, things can change, yada yada. They have on like almost every game. That wasn't there in the direct, and it wasn't there.
Stop it! You're scaring
me. In the.
I'm going to cancel the stream. You're terrifying. Stop it.
So,
Halloween's not here yet.
But at the same time, there was an error in the trailer where. So you have that like ninja, it's the Zipcaster, the ninja special where they're zipping around. Well, it has a recall at the end, and the recall image is a flower. The image at one point in time was an inkjet recall, so there was a mistake there. So it might have just been something that they overlooked and didn't do. But at the same time, that's something that I looked at and I was like, whoa, wait a second. I'm like, where is this disclaimer? Because I was watching
something there.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, maybe that's coming sooner than we think.
But did they skip that for your other trailers?
It's a lot of trailers put it on, and this is looking pretty solid.
Oh, I love the.
I would going off what they showed.
Grabbing
in the trailer,
on walls and stuff.
I would definitely think summer. I mean, we don't even know who the two, Callie Marie type characters are. We don't even know.
They would have to have like a January Nintendo Direct and like
really concrete,
fully blow it out. I think summer best case scenario at this point.
I think we know 3 stages so far, and we've barely seen them.
It's gonna launch with like 4 to 6. It's gonna launch with 4 to 6 stages though. And we've probably seen almost all of the launch weapons.
I still think there's a good amount for them to show.
Because like a lot of that stuff is going to be things that come back and get added as the game goes on, because that's just how Splatoon runs.
Yeah.
And so, there's plenty to show, but they can also drop a January Direct. Say test fire happens February and the game's out early April. Or end of March,
I could see,
or these are like
I don't know.
The thing that because I've this entire time I've been expecting summer. I'm like summer sounds like it's a good time to drop it, but
I feel like if it was spring, they would have the test fires in like November, December. That's what I would expect if it was coming out in March.
My only thing is I was thinking I was thinking summer this entire time, and then when I was going through the direct, one of the disclaimers popped up. I was like, whoa, wait a second. And I went back to Splatoon. I'm like, they don't have it. What? That's what's throwing me off. Is that the game looks like the first time we saw the game, people were like, oh, it looks so great. And it's like, it's looking pretty rough. It looks really early. This, it doesn't seem that crazy for like that to release.
You know what?
No,
at the end of March.
It's coming out tomorrow.
Mid-April.
Watch, tomorrow's gonna be an announcement. Buy in your store today.
God, I would love it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's throwing me off is, I would love to say summer, but that lack of disclaimer really kind of throws me off. because that's the kind of like, and
Oh,
again, like
it could just be a mistake,
because
right?
fully,
Yeah.
or it could be in like it could have just been like, no, this game is now in like.
I feel like if it was spring, they would have at least told us. I mean, like even
Yeah.
Kirby, we'd never even seen Kirby, and they were like, "Yeah, spring."
Yeah.
I feel like if it was early, they would have at least been like, "Yeah, it's coming in the spring, guys."
Like,
Why not say?
there's a
any
chance
kind of
Splatoon
release
3 is
window
a
at
fall
all?
game. Like, it might not even be a summer release. It might even be a fall release.
I don't think they'd push
feel
it
like
that far
it's
back.
gonna be a summer. I don't think it positions well as a fall release.
I think Splatoon 3 sells really
I
well
think it would
regardless
just
of when
do
it comes
better.
out.
I think
The
it would
thing
do
is-
better in the summer.
Splatoon 3
Every
basically
game is called late
wants
spring, summer.
probably wants to be out around E3, if
Sure.
if
Yeah.
not earlier.
I mean, I agree
Because
with that.
they are going to want to do Worlds, and people are probably going to qualify for Worlds via Splatoon 2, and they're going to play it on Splatoon 3, because they're going to want to really show that off. Now, how close to E3 they want to do that, or if they want to do it at E3 and then have the game released right after E3,
Sorry.
like who knows?
The first
but-
game came out late May, and the second game came out like mid-July.
Yeah.
So I suspect somewhere within that time period.
I want to show you guys something. I'm just showing off a thumbnail I made for my recent video. Just to kind of highlight what's going on.
Oh, was it the one
here.
I complained about?
Yeah, I hate you.
Well, I need to
Dumo
see
was
this.
Dumo was
Hold on.
complaining because I
I mean, where's triangle strategy, man? Where is it?
yeah, I know. Jeez. Hold on. You guys can see
Good
it there.
video though. Solid video.
Thank you. Oh, am I not even showing it? I thought I was showing
This
it.
ad would.
It was up.
I got a 15-second
Oh.
ad, so I think I missed it completely.
Oh, I know what I did. I changed the tab. There we go. You should be able to see it now. Right. So, I mean, I was just showing that off because
Yeah.
it just kind of gives you an idea of maybe the kind of lineup we could be looking at. Now, to be totally clear, okay? Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Metroid Prime 1, a remake, Fire Emblem Donkey Kong are unconfirmed. Okay? There's a great chance these don't come out next year, although I am inclined to believe at least half of these do. But you know,
Donkey Kong's the one I'm unsure about the most, kinda.
Which one?
Donkey Kong.
All
I
right.
kind of feel like we might have heard that pretty early, and I was talking to Andres about this at the end of after we watched the direct. We barely saw anything of, or not. We barely heard anything in those rumors and those leaks about the game. Like, we don't even know if it's 2D or 3D. Nobody can seem to decide that. Nobody seems to have actually
Yeah.
seen the game or seen any art of it or seen any concept of it whatsoever. They just know that it's in development. And I feel like that kind of lack of any sort of information at all kind of suggests that it might be earlier than we think. So I'm not sure.
I just think based off the sources of some of the information that it suggested that there's promotional material that's circulating behind the scenes, and that's why people know of the Donkey Kong's existence. But with that in mind, you know, that suggests that there's promotional material that maybe they're further off, they're further along because they're getting ready to start talking about it. But you never know with Nintendo, right? So I do think it's always safe to, you know, not assume something's coming out. Because again, you look at this lineup. So Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, that's confirmed for 2022. Sparks of Hope 2022. Legends Arceus 2022. Splatoon 3 2022. Sunbreak, which is a massive expansion of Monster Hunter, 2022. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, it's a big hype 3D Kirby game, 2022. Bayonetta 3, a 2022 game, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of like an insane thing.
Dang, we know about a lot already.
Yeah, and there's other things too. This doesn't include everything. To Dumo's point, Triangle Strategies coming out in March, right? There's also Chocobo GP, which we're not going to really talk about, I guess, but it's a Final Fantasy Mario Kart.
I want to ask one question.
more
What
like
studio is making that? Because it looks like it's the Mario Kart studio.
If that
It's
game
not.
ends up being good, I might pick it up.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
so like I was like, did Square Enix like
I'll
is that
take
what
this
the
off.
Mario Kart studio's been doing? Is this Square Enix game? Like
I
what?
highly doubt it.
I don't know.
looks like
It
Mario
looks-
Kart, but on 50cc. It looks pretty slow.
I don't. It's definitely not the
they can
Mario
always
Kart team,
like
but
they can always crank it up. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
hoping there will be some.
it looks
faster
fun though, and it's
set.
exclusive to Switch, which is interesting. You would
Yeah.
think that like you
Nice.
would have like a Final Fantasy kart racer on at least PlayStation, but whatever.
I mean, like,
Right.
I don't know why you'd give us that. I mean,
right?
give
like
us
what?
like a
like a real.
give us like a tactics. Like, give us tactics, like a
I don't know.
remake of tactics,
I
or
don't
like
care about- I don't care about
I mean, I'm
tactics.
okay with a kart racer.
oh,
I guess
people would.
you know, the
eat that
problem
up.
with the Chocobo GP thing is just like we should get like like an actual like full on like Final Fantasy, you know. But
guess.
before we
I
kind
I
of
don't
veer
really
off,
care.
the reason I showed off that image was because I wanted to highlight a point in relation to Splatoon 3. I think the big games, like in terms of from the marketing perspective from Nintendo, like the 3 big games that Nintendo has next year that are like the like the potential 15 to 20 million copy sellers or beyond, is Pokemon Legends Arceus to open up the year, Splatoon 3 potentially midway through the year, and then Breath of the Wild 2 at the end. Like I think that's maybe their plan, and then everything else is kind of fill up. Like Kirby and the Forgotten Land may go down as the best-selling Kirby game ever, right? But I think we still rank it under those 3 franchises in terms of sales potential, right? So you know, it's kind of something that fills up the gaps. Same thing with Triangle Strategy. Same thing with Bayonetta 3. All hype releases, but definitely not like, you know, Bayonetta 3 would be amazing if Bayonetta 3 even sells 5 million. You know, like that would be that would be a huge success story for Bayonetta if it could hit 5 million. Which I'm not sure, but it's not saying it's not going to do well. But I think you guys understand my point here. The point is
There's
that
a lot of units and a lot of hype.
yeah, but the point is that the 3 big ones is Pokemon Legends Arceus, Splatoon 3, Breath of the Wild 2, and I think Nintendo spaces those out, you know, beginning, middle, end of the year, and
Okay,
they just
question for
fill
you.
that all up with other stuff.
Do you think they're going to manage the one big release a month for next year?
Well, you know what? I gotta
don't
show you
think
I'm
they
gonna
do
show you
any
the
years.
list again. All right, so just ignore this corner. We already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you exclude Monster Hunter Sunbreak as like it's like a big, like you can. There's already 6, right?
I'll call it another one. I'd call that a big release.
Right, and then there's also
So you
Triangle
can
Strategy
call it
in March,
7, 8.
right? Triangle Strategy in March. You know, I think we can exclude Chocobo GP, even though it is an exclusive, right? You know, so that's already 8, right? That's already 8 big sort of releases for next year. Again, ignore these 4 because they're unconfirmed. This is just to give you an idea of the potential, right? Because these all potentially could come out next year.
Which, by the way, would round out the 1 per month.
I
Right.
think inevitably
Yeah.
there will be like 1 or 2 months that don't have a big.
But there also could be
big
some
game.
months that have 2 or 3. So,
Right.
you know, like it's not necessarily going to be like perfect, but it could be close.
Yeah.
So let me just kind of briefly explain these because they didn't have a spot in the direct, but I want to talk about them. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you know, everyone was thinking, oh, they're showing off Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It's one of those things where like, hey, they're gonna show off 1 or 2 things, and like the handful I would always mention would be Donkey Kong, Fire Emblem, Kirby, Bayonetta 3, Xenoblade. We got Kirby and Bayonetta. We still haven't gotten Xenoblade, Donkey Kong, Fire Emblem. Like, but those are always a handful. We were like, hey, these are like the ones we can maybe, you know, at some point Nintendo could just drop. They showed us 2 of them already, you know. So don't lose hope. The others, they're still coming. Just gotta be patient. But Xenoblade Chronicles 3, like, there's been, saw all those rumors that came from Imran Khan and Samus Hunter and all the other people saying that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 would have come out this year if it wasn't for COVID. So, you know, that does lead to believe that maybe it could come out next year, right? And you look at how just simply Xenoblade 2 came out in 2017, and they haven't come out with a full-blown, ground-up new game since then. They had the DLC with Torn of the Golden Country and then the Definitive Edition. So they have been
Torn
busy.
was like a fourth of a full game, though. Wasn't really
What?
too big.
I mean, it took them a few months. Like they came out with it like 6 months later or something.
Yeah.
So
Just like it took them like 2 years to make the base game.
right, like that was all fast. And
They
Monosoft has
only had 26 people on it. Like, come on, give
Yeah.
them some
Yeah.
slack.
but Monosoft has a whole bunch of different studios, you know. Like they have working on multiple games at once. They will help with Zelda development and other things. Like they get a lot of work done. We've seen them hiring every couple years or every year for big new major projects. So like the point is that they're due for something. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is a pretty good bet.
Since our last main game release.
Exactly. So Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is a really good bet. If not that, then their new IP or something. Like something big from them. I mean, technically Breath of the Wild 2, you know, they worked on that. But that's the other thing.
That's a different studio. Like that's not their auxiliary studio.
Yeah, it's not their Xenoblade studio.
Right.
So they have their studio that releases Monolith games, and they have their Monolith studio that is in the credits of pretty much every game of 2017.
Right.
Like,
but then there's also Fire Emblem, which we're kind of due for that as well. We usually get 2 to 3 per generation. We've only gotten 1 so far. 3 Houses came out in 2019. We usually get a remake, which has a quicker turnover. We probably haven't seen it yet because of COVID, you know. So this one's also one that has a strong candidate to come out at some point next year, right? So Fire Emblem and Xenoblade, those are big ones. Donkey Kong. All right, I'm gonna get off this because this Donkey Kong thing is gonna become its whole other topic. It's gonna go into our Mario voice cast topic because they are related. So, this is my shield with Donkey Kong. Again, just because it hasn't been shown off yet does not mean it's real, right? We talked about Kirby, we talked about Bayonetta. Those finally got shown off. Like before E3, we were, you know, it was like, when's Metroid 2D Metroid coming? It came, you know. And then last year it was like, when are we getting Paper Mario and Skyward Sword? Well, now all those things are known things. Pikmin 3 as well, 3D All Stars. Like when we talk about games and like, oh, when's it come? Like just because it's gonna come immediately doesn't mean it's not gonna come. You just got to be patient. Like these things are coming. I feel like every game that we've been like, hey, this is real, it has proven to be real. It's just taken time. The only one is Star Fox Grand Prix, but we gave up on that pretty quick. And even then, that I heard was actually canceled. But anyway, so with Donkey Kong,
Star Fox Grand Prix thing was hoax.
I told you. Maybe you weren't around, but I heard that it was actually canceled. That's why Eurogamer had reported.
We may never know.
And IGN had corroborated it because it was actually a project that was canned.
Well, we'll know officially in 20 years when someone digs up a USB key.
Yeah.
My
like,
personal
the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
It's like,
that
oh my
like
god.
to think it is that people just saw the Star Fox DLC with the racing in what was that game that had
Starlink
Starlink
DLC.
Yes. They saw that and they were like, it's Star Fox, the racing.
Well,
it's new.
Well, let me explain that.
Visuals.
So what
the
I
other issue is they don't really know what to do with Star Fox.
What I heard was that actually that was kind of a test, and after that they're like, yeah, you know what, scrap this idea. Yeah. That kind of goes to show you how fickle sometimes Nintendo can be, assuming it's true, right? But anyway, going back to the point I wanted to make related to Donkey Kong. You look at what we know is happening right now, okay? We know that the team that made Super Mario Odyssey has not released anything since 2017, okay? We're entering 2022. One of Nintendo's best EPG groups has not come out with anything in nearly half a decade. Okay, we know that. We also know that Nintendo has more than just blueprints. They have actual plans to put together a Donkey Kong expansion to Super Nintendo World. Before they expand to Legend of Zelda, before they expand to Animal Crossing, before they expand to Pokemon or any of the other franchises.
Yeah, we knew about
the
potential of a Donkey Kong ride before we even saw the official stuff for the Mario. Mario Party.
Yeah, it's been for a while, but these things are planned for years ahead of time, you know. So we got those different points. The Mario Odyssey team hasn't come out with anything since 2017. There's a plan for a Donkey Kong expansion before any of the other Nintendo franchises besides obviously Mario. But now with the most recent Nintendo Direct, guess what? We now have a very extensive voice cast for this movie with some very high profile actors. One of them is Seth Rogen, an incredibly talented and popular, probably one of the most well-known movie actor comedians, and he's playing Donkey Kong. I didn't even know Donkey Kong was going to be in the movie. Just let me finish my point real quick. Sorry. Okay. I just want to finish my point real quick. Seth Rogen's playing Donkey Kong, but it's not just Donkey Kong's gonna be in the movie. Cranky Kong's gonna be in the movie too. So we have multiple Donkey Kong characters with prominent actors playing their roles in this upcoming Mario movie. I think it's pretty clear that Nintendo has a plan here. So, with that all in mind, why wouldn't there be a game to back that all up? But anyway, what were you saying, Brandon?
I was just gonna say I've been watching a lot of Seth Rogen movies.
Yeah.
With James Franco in them, and they're very good. And then I saw this, and I was like, "Wow, I've just been watching your stuff." And yeah, I've never seen most of his movies, and I just really started rewatching them. So I thought that was just funny, the timing of that. But another thing, and I'm not sure if this is fake or real. I'm kind of leaning towards this being fake. But there was a leak, apparently, that Keanu Reeves is playing Diddy Kong. So I don't know if that's true or not. I feel like that's probably fake. I saw that on Twitter.
I feel like they would have announced that. That'd be really weird not to put that in.
Pretty sure, yeah. I'm pretty sure that it's a joke or a fake. Yeah,
it's fake.
But I just thought that was kind of funny.
It's funny. Yeah, a lot of people are kind of trolling with that. But do you guys see my point here, though? With like, there's clearly a plan for the Donkey Kong franchise, and when you think about what the rumor is for what they've said about the rumor is that Nintendo wants to bring back Donkey Kong back to its heyday, kind of like how it was popular back once upon a time before the 21st century. They want it to become something huge. They want to raise awareness for that brand. So you see the Donkey Kong voice actors in the upcoming Mario movie. You see the Donkey Kong plans to expand in Super Nintendo world. These things, I think, are signs pointing towards Donkey Kong being a real legit thing. And I think, timing-wise, it makes sense for it to come out within the next couple of years. Maybe it doesn't come out next year, right? But I'm more inclined to say yes. But we'll see, because we've also been waiting for Metroid Prime Trilogy for a very, very long time. Which, by the way, we're saving that for after we talk about all the direct stuff, but there is now a rumor that Metroid Prime Trilogy is being dismantled, and they're going to focus on releasing them individually, and Metroid Prime is going to have a bit of an extensive overhaul, hence why I'm calling it a remake rumor. And that could be coming out next year as well. So, I'm not talking about Metroid Prime 4, we're not talking about Prime 2, we're talking about Metroid Prime. But when you consider that Prime 4 has been developed for some time and the Dread's coming out now, I think it does make sense for Nintendo to maintain that momentum, have some sort of Metroid goodness to kind of continue that train going. And it's also the 20th anniversary of Metroid Prime next year. So, apparently they want to use that to celebrate it.
I don't know, it seems like they're not going to want to hold on to Prime 4 for a long time. And it seems weird to get 1 out, then 4, then remake 2 and 3 when they could have done trilogy. So I don't know.
Well, I think
they could have just released 4 without it, but like it's just.
I think the idea is that 2 and 3 are not going to get the same treatment as 1.
That's kind of unfortunate, though.
Yeah.
I do think people kind of regard 1 as the best one. And even just not having played 2 or 3, but just seeing the mechanics, seeing how they work, I think I would probably want to replay 1. I don't even think I want to play 2. Like, I've just seen Andres play that, and it looks tedious as hell.
It's hard.
I kind of want to try 3, but honestly, if they just remade 1 and put a lot of time and effort into that, I'd way prefer that. And I would really enjoy that over just Prime Trilogy, where 2 of the 3 games, I'm like, I'll dabble in those, but I really just care about the first one.
Yeah. I think I want to save that rumor for a little bit later. I mean, we could talk about it now, I guess. It's in the middle of the direct discussion, so we'd be kind of splitting that up a little bit. But I mean, we've already covered Splatoon, Kirby, Smash, Monster Hunter. The only thing left is Bayonetta, really. No. We're jumping too far ahead because we got to talk about this voice cast for the Mario stuff, right? The reason I brought the Donkey Kong stuff up is just because I think it's kind of likely, right? And then the Metroid thing's kind of likely too. Like all these things are kind of likely. It doesn't mean they come out all next year, but those are all for the Xenoblade 3, Donkey Kong Fire Emblem, and Metroid Prime Remake. Those are all like if not Prime Remake, then Trilogy, one or the other. Like those are all likely candidates to help fill up the lineup we've already discussed. And even if it's not those, there's surely gonna be other things. Like we're still in 2021. Nintendo can still announce things for next year in a Nintendo Direct at the beginning of the year, and then also at the E3 Direct as well. So there's still a lot of room and time for more announcements to fill up 2022. It's looking like it's going to be a stacked year. It's looking like it could be that peak year. And to we mentioned earlier, Dumo, we could be looking at a situation we are getting like a pretty hype published Nintendo game every month almost. Yeah.
Oh, and gee. Another one that people have talked about, and I don't know how serious the actual rumor is another Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which again was published by Nintendo and sold very well for what it was expected to be and do.
Correct.
And I can't remember what year that was in.
That's 2018 or 2019.
That's not like a huge 5-year dev cycle game.
No.
Which is funny because it actually probably plays better than the huge 5-6 year dev cycle game that they tried to do that same thing with.
Yeah, and there's also the rumor for the next Resident Evil, like a roundup one for Switch. Like that's something that also could come out next year. Not saying it will come out next year, but it's a widespread belief that it's been in development. I think there was even like a leak technically or something for it, but that's a whole other thing. So there's a lot of options, right? And I count anything that's like an exclusive that's not garbage.
I think they could do it. We already know 8. I don't think we know all of next year already. So
yeah, I think a lot of people
there's going to be a couple surprises at least.
I think what a lot of people are saying now is that some of those games are going to be pushed to the next year. Like people assume Breath of the Wild 2 is going to get delayed.
I don't think anything that's been announced will get pushed because they're so careful lately about announcing
I agree.
Anything. I mean, a lot of stuff like Splatoon, they could have easily just told us somewhere, but they didn't.
They didn't because they're not sure yet. I think that's probably what it is.
If they're not 100 bajillion% sure these days, they won't give you anything.
Yeah, but they were sure about 2022, so
yeah.
They could know exactly where they want it and be rather sure that it's going to fall there, sure enough to put it. But they also have a test fire to announce, so they also this is going to be something they're marketing very, very heavily. Because this is the only game apparently they seem to even remotely attempt esports with. So, which is really weird. Whatever. Anyways, so they have to split up all the announcements. So anything they can show individually, and each chance they get to show it, I think they're going to show it as often as possible. So now we're going to have a test fire with a release window, like a proper window. Or the test fire at least gives a release window, and then they can do so they can keep those going. So I don't know how. Again, especially if it's summer, that gives them another one in January, February. They can do another one for the test fire, another one for the actual release, a direct for the game's actual release. Depending how hard they want to push it, they can split this up and just tease us.
I do hope the next time we see it, we just get a release date, because I feel like it's just. Why hold off on an exact release date for so long?
Well, I think next time we see we get a release date, I think that's
release date, pre-orders, just open those up.
I will say, as little of the game as we've seen, time-wise, we've actually seen a lot. There's a lot known of this game right now for how little they've shown. Those were very packed
Very packed,
sequences.
yeah.
And the fact that they were showing this, it was the same sequence on repeat from different angles and different points of view. It really helped get a really strong image of what was going on. Like we actually know the specials on pretty much every weapon there. We know some of the sub weapons that were used on which weapons. There was a lot. That's a lot of information.
I'm really excited
coming
for
from
the
that little
stretchy
bit.
arm Attack on Titan grappling thing, and then they also have like mounts. Like it's pretty neat.
Yeah,
that was
epic.
Yeah, I don't know. The one I'm worried about is that big bubble. That big bubble is.
Yeah, I couldn't really understand what the point of that was. You know.
The point is that they can't kill the person inside it.
Oh.
Now, whether or not you can go, I have so many questions to that because that thing is so.
Does it just block ink? Does it block players and ink?
Don't know. It seems so easy to be flat broken.
And I'm really excited for like just them announcing like new modes, like for example, Salmon Run was hype. Like I want to see them expand on Salmon Run. I also do wonder if they will have some sort of take on the battle royale idea.
I don't think so.
Well, hear me out. I'm not saying you copy it exactly, but imagine if it was kind of like a thing where you're on maybe a slightly above average size stage, and there's maybe not 4 and 4, maybe there's like 16 or 20 inklings, and the focus is more about getting to the middle as the water rises. And it's just kind of like that, but it's faster paced. It's not like a 20-25 minute like battle royale necessarily. Like just like a remix of that idea to some extent. Right. Just something different.
I feel like having a bunch of different ink colors causes a problem.
Yeah, I feel like
well, it could still be team based.
Yeah, I feel like the base limiting factor is definitely the colors, which just limits how many people you can have. So like, if you're in a 1-player version of this, 1v all, then you're limited how many people you have. But the colors, just 1. So however many colors there are, that's the amount of people that you can have essentially.
Well, they have lots of.
So if you have 4, then if there's lots of colors, then you can have a pretty good amount of people. Your team
it's not
colors the same.
It's not a matter of how many colors they have, because they have an infinite amount of colors to pull from. It's how do you do 8 colors that are completely different from each other so that they don't like bleed in. Then it's a matter of like a big part of Splatoon is hiding in your ink. If there's a little splotch of ink that's a different color over there, it's like, well, I'm gonna shoot that because where else can this person be, kind of thing. Like it's. Right. I don't know. It makes for just the ink part of it alone makes for a very difficult way of making it work.
Sure,
is the way I see it. And then you have things like different, like burst bombs become god just for movement and getting out. Basically sloshers are useless. Chargers can't be played. Rollers are trash. Shooters are everything. Like in a mode like that, there's so many, and to balance it, I think would be very, very problematic.
Yeah. It'd have to be balanced very differently from the other modes.
Doesn't have to be exactly like it. I'm just saying I want something different. That's all.
I'm just saying I personally don't see it. I don't see a way that they can. Again, it's a very creative group of people, so maybe they find a way. But I think that it's a
like. What if it's like not water? Battle? Like, what if it's like there are just like these ink like bulldozers that are just slowly like crushing the environment or painting over the environment,
like an island that's sinking, and it's like the highest. It's like I guess the highest point would be the top.
I feel like rising water would make more sense.
It was like a giant platforming jungle gym that's just vertical, so the water just rises. You get to the top. You just fight people along the way.
It'd be interesting if it was team-based and, like, it required, like, team-based platforming to get through. So, like, for example, you look at the single player, there's a lot of focus on platforming elements in the two different Splatoon games. What if they did that? And what if it was, like, a team-based, so you kind of had to, everyone would have a different role. And that's how it would work. And if you want to talk about the balancing, in Salmon Run, you can't just pick whatever you want. You have to pick different particular sets for particular rounds.
Oh, you don't pick anything in Salmon Run. They just give it.
Oh, they just give it to you. Right,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
But the point is you don't pick, right? So, like, you know, like, they could just designate you certain roles for particular maps. And that's how it's balanced. But it still offers unique gameplay because maybe it's like a team-based gameplay to kind of get your team to platform better than another team as you guys are trying to survive as the water's rising or the paint bulldozers are coming to paint you to death, or I don't know. Like, there's a few different options there that can actually do both. But
Yeah.
anyway, it doesn't have to be that
See,
necessarily, just
something
something different.
See, I wouldn't be opposed to a game mode where there's rising water on a map, just cutting off the map and, like, making it smaller and harder to play. If they can find a way to make it so you can knock out, if they can fix spawn issues as you coming back in, which might actually be fixed by the way they're handling the respawns off of those
Fly in.
those cubes, those
Yeah.
floating cubes. Like, so something like that I could see, but as far as like a battle royale, I just don't see it. Like,
Right.
personally, like from my personal standpoint, I would rather them put more thought into something like, again, like a rising water mode over trying to figure out how to turn Splatoon into a battle royale.
I'm not more
I
into
would
the
rather them
idea
do
of it.
something way out of left field.
I'm not
and
more
just
into
be
the
like,
idea of team-based platforming. Take some of the single-player elements and explore that more. And it can still have that battle royale element of, like, you know, the things whittling down, right? Like we've talked about, like, the island idea with rising water. There's options like that. But we got other things to talk about. So the Mario voice cast, a ridiculous lineup, right? We already mentioned Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. Anya, is it Joy Taylor? The girl from Queen's Gambit is playing Peach. Chris Pratt is playing Mario. Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny is playing Luigi. Come on, like,
that's a big cast, man. That's a big
Dude.
cast
Black
of
is
big games.
Bowser.
Jack Black is playing Bowser. Yeah. The comedian from Key and Peele, he's playing Toad. Like, it's just a ridiculous lineup, guys. This is a ridiculous lineup. It's
Yeah, no,
it also shows that Nintendo's, even if you don't like the choices, which I say, I mean, I think no matter what, people are going to be upset no matter who they pick. But I'll say that it's very clear that Nintendo is putting in money into this. Like, they're not skimping. These are high profile actors. So, like, in terms of the voice cast, they're digging into their wallets here.
Also, gotta say, during the direct, Miyamoto just pops in, goes, you know, these people are going to be in the movie. Bye. Just
Yeah.
walks away. I'm like,
Yeah.
Mic
for
drop.
starters,
Can't show it right now, but these are the voice actors. So goodbye.
wow.
He looked
Second
good,
of all,
too.
good job not taking up a ton of time in the direct.
Yeah, it was very well paced.
Really good job on that. I thought that, like,
Yeah.
they fitted in a very timely manner, and I thought it fit. Also, like, what? You just drop that bomb and just leave? It's like, oh, by the way, you know, oh, here's who we have. By, like,
They confirmed the movie for next year as well, right?
Yeah, winter 20. It's like winter
Yeah,
2022, so basically December. Yeah,
I think it's December 21st.
something
Is
like that.
the day they
yeah,
said
like right before
in
Christmas.
North America. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's coming. That's huge, man. Like, and it's not a game related, so it's neat, you know. So it kind of opens the door for, like, when we do inevitably get like the Mario movie trailer. Are they gonna save it for a
Right.
direct, or are they gonna just drop it like they do for most movie trailers?
Who knows? I'd imagine they'll drop it. but
I feel like the answer. I feel like the
It could
answer
put it-
is not in a direct.
I
I
feel
could-
like
I don't
that's gonna
know.
drop on that's gonna be a YouTube, Twitter drop.
I think so.
I would have thought the voice actors would be as well, though. So who knows? But that will be that's the make or break moment for this movie, because we still have no idea if it's going to be good or not. We have no clue. We know the actors, but it could be a hot mess or it could be really good. We still don't know based off just the actors.
Well,
But at the same time, these are actors that can turn us. They can afford to turn a role down.
yeah,
And
I don't think
so
if they think it's gonna be
if
a
they're
trash.
in it,
yeah,
I feel like they believe in it. If they're in it, it's like they're not just like I don't think they're going out there to just do whatever. It's Nintendo. It'll look whatever. It'll be funny if it crashes and burns. Like
yeah.
I feel like they have a like I feel like they believe in it. Much like the Sonic actors.
I just can't believe
You know,
Seth Rogen's
they
Donkey Kong.
believed in the Sonic movie,
Right.
and it turned out pretty
Fine.
solid.
It was
It
fine.
was almost the
Good.
character design was almost hot garbage, though. Until we told them that they need to fix that, 'cause it was the worst thing we'd ever seen.
But the thing is, Miyamoto has been
Yeah.
very heavily involved with this. I don't
And-
think that's getting
Very
screwed
true.
up.
Also,
But you know what
look
else
at the
could
studio.
happen? It could be generic. That's
Yeah.
my worry.
That's yeah.
Super
No, but
generic.
the other issue is that this is not live action. The part of the issue with the Sonic
Yeah.
design is because they were struggling with the clash between realism and surrealism and fantasy, right? Like they have to try to
Yeah.
find a way to make that all blend.
I'm
This
not
this
worried
Mario
about
movie is
them making
entirely
Mario
animated.
look like a
Yeah,
hideous, ugly thing. I'm worried about everything being Toads. Man, that key guy, I forget his full name, but that guy, if it ends up being like any of the late, Mario RPGs or just
Keegan
Mario
Michael
spin-offs,
Key.
Keegan Michael Key, he's gonna be voicing so many Toads. I hope not. I hope it's just one Toad. It's just Toad, and that's it.
I can see him
But,
just
the
getting
fact
real
that
loopy
they
with it.
have,
I also want to know what the scope of this is. Like, what are they? Is this a one and done? Are they going to try to make? Like, are they going to go back to trying to make TV series about this, like the Donkey Kong show and like?
I don't think it's the last Nintendo movie. I think when this,
Is this?
I think
Did
when
Miyamoto
this,
see Marvel and be like, I can do that. Like what?
I think
wanna
the
know where this
question
goes.
is, isn't will Nintendo do it again? Because I think the answer is yes, they're gonna do it again. Because I don't think this is going to be a trash fire. I think they're coming at this from the right angles, and the movie is going to be very successful. In other words, it's going to sell really well, and it's not going to ruin their brand. The initial Mario movie did ruin their brand, and it was not that successful. So different,
Still beloved though.
by a select few. So point is, the movie's gonna perform really well in the box office. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. If you think if Sonic did well, Mario's gonna do better.
yeah.
So I'm not really worried about that. The money's gonna be there, and so they're gonna want to continue. The question is, are they going to follow it up quickly? Because they are already expecting success and they're now preparing other movies, or are they gonna wait, see how it went, and maybe we have to wait years before Nintendo does it again? And when I say years, I don't mean 30 years. I mean maybe like 5 to 10. Like,
I'm gonna be honest.
That's-
I'm pretty sure it's the second option.
I feel
Not
like it
gonna
would
lie.
have to be. Yeah, I would have to go with the same thing simply because of who they have as their cast. So unless they're throwing an absurd amount of money to keep them around continually, like it's going to take a while to do something again.
I don't know,
But-
I think they'll
man.
move on to
I don't know,
another
man. I feel like 2 to 3
They-
years.
they-
I feel
they
like
could
2 to
do
3 years
something.
from now. 2 to 3 years from now, we could see a trailer for Legend of Zelda and the war, and then it would just.
Right. that might be
well, if
possible.
they were, yeah, that's different. Going like getting away from this.
I
this
just mean
universe and
Nintendo,
going to, like,
Nintendo
Zelda.
movies as a whole.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that at that point in time they're moving on to a different cast.
Can you imagine
so...
an Animal Crossing movie?
I still think 3
that
to
be
5
boring?
years is probably
Yeah,
when
it
we'll
would
see
be.
another movie.
It would have to be like a comedy. I wouldn't want to
Oh
watch.
man,
We need the
it-
Tingle the movie.
Oh my
flesh out
goodness,
that
yes.
character
I mean, we
properly.
got Detective
But no,
Pikachu
yeah,
not that
he has
long
his
ago.
own games. Well, he has his own games. Why not give him his own movie?
Detective Pikachu wasn't that long ago. What was it? 2017? 2018?
I don't remember. I never even.
2019.
never
Jesus,
seen it.
like it was 2 years
I
ago,
still haven't
guys.
seen
It
it.
was 2 years ago. Like, it wasn't that long ago.
Mind you, at the same time, that's
2.5.
PCI and not Nintendo, but
Sure, but Pokemon Company and Nintendo owns Pokemon to an extent. Like, I get
Yeah.
what you're saying,
Yeah,
but
but
I'm just
Pokemon
saying, you know,
companies used to making movies.
they
Not
also
like
they,
this,
they're-
though.
they
No.
do their own thing.
But they are used to making movies in general, whereas Nintendo is not at all.
True. But Detective Pikachu was successful. The Sonic movie was successful. I think it's
Mortal Kombat was pretty successful. It's another video game movie.
yeah. I think the tides are turning. I think they're figuring it out. I think they realize that video game movies have to actually have something to do with a video game.
Right.
Who would have thought? But yeah, so I think this is honestly really good news. Like, I thought some people don't like the voice actor choices, but I think the fact that they're putting so much money into this, and that cast is actually a very talented cast.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
even if the movie's writing and scripting is complete garbage, the moments with those actors are still going to be good. So
Yeah.
I think the movie's going to be at least okay.
Oh, have you looked at the directors on this?
No.
I didn't
Or the
see that those were
okay.
the notes.
Okay, so
Review
over
those.
at IMDb, so we have like I don't even know the names.
Not confusing this with the movie from 1993, are you?
Super Mario Bros. Movie expected December 21st, 2022.
I'm
See,
looking.
when you
I'm
look
looking
when you
at
Google it, it both are like showing up at the same time.
Yeah. I see the directors: Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelinek. Right?
Okay.
So when you go to them, they're most known for things like Teen Titans Go, Naruto. Again,
Naruto's not-
Teen
making a
Titans
Naruto
Go.
It says
There was a
Naruto
writer.
This is real.
So
Yeah, it's on IMDb.
and then the other
it's
like
not-
we're talking about like has the other director Michael Jelinek is Teen Titans Go, Batman, Brave and the Bold. Like, so big names there. The writer, they have Miyamoto labeled for characters, and for screenplay they have Matthew Fogel. I don't know. The Lego Movie 2, Minions: Rise of Gru. Like, that's actually like, I feel like if this doesn't turn out well, I feel like they've taken as many steps as they can as far as bringing in the right people.
Yeah. I want to
Like,
say that
this
some
is-
people see Teen Titans Go and say, "Oh, that's trash," because I don't like Teen Titans Go. But I think this is an important distinction to be made here. I think the issue that people have with Teen Titans Go is that it's turned something that was more of an action-based series into a comedy than to not be taken seriously, as opposed to what this Mario movie is. Like, it's gonna be what it is, and I think based off the voice cast, it's very clear it's gonna be a comedy.
People
Like-
hate Despicable Me, so I just don't trust them because it's a great movie. Both of them. Actually, kind of all three. Three I've only seen once, so I can't really say if I ever like it a lot. But 1 and 2 are great. I don't understand why people hate on them so much. I've never ever seen anybody hate on on either of them until I saw people on Twitter after they announced Mario was being made by Illumination. Everybody apparently hates Illumination, and I did not know this.
I
'cause
don't
they're
know
a great
why.
movie.
Illumination's a really good like
Yeah.
they're
I don't know.
they're a
People-
very high
people are,
quality
like,
studio.
saying that they have bad animation and like their animation is low quality. Like, what? The movies look great. What are you talking about? I mean, they're not like Toy Story 4 levels of quality, but
I should
Yeah,
watch
I mean,
Despicable
like-
Me.
bad.
I've never seen it.
If
You should
you're
watch it. It's good.
Yeah.
I guess even compared to like some of the other studios, it's still not bad. It might not be, again, on that same level as DreamWorks, but like, come on, we can't like, not every studio can be DreamWorks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to point out ASAP
honestly,
Bro.
Freaking
ASAP Bro.
Carell is the main character.
ASAP Bro said that Miyamoto had a fresh comb over as well. I think this is very important to point out. He did have a very, very, very fresh comb over in the direct. He looked fantastic. I was impressed.
He did.
He
did.
He was very fly.
He looked happy too. Like, he's like, this is, look what I've been doing, guys.
I think he knew what he was doing. I think he knew that he was dropping some serious bombs.
He came out with a mic ready. He's like, this is going down.
Yeah, I mean, when you got moments like this, Brandon, how could you think it's only a B+? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I must be insane. Those were my thoughts initially. I'm honestly, looking back on it, I think maybe it does deserve an A. Because the biggest reasons, what did I say, was that they didn't show the Smash character.
But I think it would have been worse if they. I think it would have been worse if they.
Splatoon's release date.
Yeah.
Through those, it's fine because those just give me things to look forward to in the future. Now there's a Smash presentation to look forward to. Now there's Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I think Animal Crossing fans were just excited that they got confirmation that they were gonna get an update.
Dude, I saw Brewster and I was just like, that's all I need to know.
Yeah, like people were just happy that they knew they were gonna get an update and they were gonna use on it soon. Like that news alone was great. And for the Smash thing, I think it was fine that they just said, "Hey, look, it's coming." Like they didn't waste too much time on it. Just like, "Hey, this is coming soon."
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was happy with that. Like, don't waste a ton of, like, especially if they want to do a big presentation on it, which they'll want to show off the fighter anyways and have a showcase. Do it separate, and in the meantime, just be like, "Hey, it's coming. Don't worry." Just so that like people aren't freaking out. Like, well, where was Smash? They didn't even talk about it. It's like, well, yeah, they did. They just said, this is when.
They're also spreading out the hype too, right? Like, it was fine. Like it was something nice, but it wasn't like, it wasn't the star of the show. The star of the show was Kirby and Bayonetta 3 and Monster Hunter and N64 Online and the Mario Voice Cast and Splatoon.
Right.
One more thing on like other information coming. Monster Hunter on the 30th is going to be shown off at Tokyo Game Show, and they've already been telling people to make sure they check it out. So
makes sense. I mean, they showed Rise there last year, so
people didn't expect it to show up at the direct because it was showing up like so close afterwards and already committed to the Tokyo Game Show.
Well, that's exactly why it should show up in the direct.
Well,
so that's
a lot of times
Nintendo gets the chance to tell it themselves.
I mean, the Sunbreak trailer was very short, quick, snappy. Like, if we get more details at the Tokyo Game Show, I think that's fine.
It makes sense because they barely showed us anything of it. I mean, they really just showed, like,
they showed us a piece of the aesthetic.
Or show anything.
Yeah.
It's just how it looks is pretty much all we know.
Yeah. But there's still a lot for us to talk about, and I don't want this one to go on too late. So I want to move on. I will point out this message from Canonical Head in the chat. Great podcast, boys. Thank you. I've always wanted Pixar to do a Banjo-Kazooie movie. That would be epic. Yeah. But who knows, man? Banjo-Kazooie's coming in 64 Online. Then next, maybe they take over the world.
Pixar doing any movie is always awesome. So
yeah. I agree with that. Definitely agree with that.
All these are possible at this point. Like that's the other thing. This movie coming up doing really well and really like giving a solid blueprint.
I think Banjo's far away from getting
open
a movie.
up. But
Banjo's gonna get a new game
up
first.
A lot of options.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But this is going to open up future options. It's not going to be like, 2 years from now. It's not like, they did it. They pulled it off. Okay, we're in development right away. But this is something where we need to start seeing more.
What would be hype though?
Sonic did well.
Yeah.
Sonic did well. Showed that yes, we can do one of these and it's not absolutely terrible. This Mario movie doing well is. And depending on how well they do it, if they really knock it out of the park, it just basically shows, yes, we can do it. Here's a blueprint. And then I think more companies are going to take advantage of that down the road.
Smash,
it's just a matter
cinematic
of
universe.
Getting... Oh, yeah. It's just a matter of getting into that position to be able to pull that off.
Smash Cinematic Universe. Make it happen. Make it
You know,
happen.
Andres, you did ask when we would see the next movie, but you didn't say, what if it's not a movie? What if they decide to go into anime next? Zelda anime. That'd be better. I'd prefer that.
Can it
Put it on
not be the
Netflix?
90s one?
Yeah. No, I
But
think
Netflix
for
make it, like,
every
similar to a Castlevania style art style, but less
Ooh.
obviously R-rated.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good point you bring up, Brandon, because the thing is, with the different Nintendo games, I think they're going to look at each franchise and be like, okay, what's the best way to convey this franchise, right? And I think by doing that, that also kind of puts them in a situation where they can't do the Smash Cinematic Universe, but that was a pipe dream anyway. But with that in mind, I'm okay with the Zelda anime. I think that might be the right way to go. Although, heck, man, if they had a Lord of the Rings style like Legend of Zelda, that would be pretty freaking amazing. Or Witcher 3 style Zelda, like something like that would be great. I think for Metroid, they should go live action.
That'd be cool.
Live
That'd work.
action, like suspense horror.
That is one of the series that I can see actually working well live action.
Yeah.
Or working.
Especially because it would
Best.
probably be a very quiet movie too. Like I think, you know, having a quiet animated movie would be weird. But let's move on because we got other things to talk about here. So, I mean, we've touched on N64 Online. We're all excited about it. Is there anything else we need to add to this? Like it's coming. We're getting there's a decent lineup of games on the way. It's coming this October. The FCC filing was for 2 controllers apparently, and the N64 controller and Sega Genesis, which we haven't mentioned. We're getting Sega Genesis games too. Echo the Dolphin, Sonic, like that's all right. Like
I
interesting.
was not expected,
No,
and really like
it's a
that.
pleasant
That's pretty
surprise.
cool.
Yeah,
I called it. I said right before the direct, I was like, Andres, what if
it's
the
Echo the
Microsoft
Dolphin.
collab is just Banjo-Kazooie coming to N64 Online, and that's what the controller was for? I didn't call the, obviously I did not call the Sega Mega Drive. Or is it the Genesis?
It's the Genesis.
Genesis.
Yeah.
The Genesis.
Still got
Is
one of
it
those
called the Mega
downstairs.
Drive in
Nope.
Japan, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, I don't
know
know.
much about Sega. I don't know.
I'm excited that Sin
but-
and Punishment is going to be on N64 Online.
I called
That was only
before.
that only came out in Japan.
Never played that, obviously.
I mean, they did bring it over to Wii Virtual Console, but it never released.
It looks like
in
Star
the
Fox
States.
if you're running on the ground, from what I've seen. I haven't seen much of the game.
It's an on-rail shooter. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like Star Fox.
it's
if you're running.
really
Okay.
it's really awesome. There's a little bit
Looks
more to it than
really
that.
cool.
It's not. There's a little bit more to it, but yeah, it's a good one.
Surprisingly, not the first Sega games to hit the Switch.
No, they had like Sega like
Yeah,
classic collections and stuff in the eShop.
yeah.
They also had the Lion King and Aladdin, which had both versions. I was gonna get that too, and it just never happened.
I mean, the other thing to point out, because we are getting Banjo, like, the door is open for other rare stuff, right? Like,
Oh,
Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Jet Force Gemini, Banjo-Tooie, Conquer's Bad Fur Day
Shocked
might
if
be a
Donkey Kong
stretch.
64 didn't make it.
Yeah, and Diddy Kong Racing's also a
And
good
Diddy
bet.
Kong Racing, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what
yeah.
if they are working on a 007 and they're simply just waiting for 2022 to end, and it's like, oh no, we're into our now slow year. By the way, just to blow your mind and make you spend the extra money.
Don't give me hope for this. This is not gonna happen.
We're talking about just
I-
GoldenEye on 64 Online, or are we talking about like a new GoldenEye? Like what they did on Wii?
Online.
Okay.
But a
Yeah.
new one? Nah, I don't even want a new one. I want the 64 one.
Yeah, I don't want.
I want
they,
it.
they already
I
remade
want
it.
flame drops and all.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah. How much do you think this is gonna cost?
I'm suspecting $10 or $20 more a year.
I don't think they should double the service. Because how much do we
No.
pay now? 20 a year.
20.
So
20 for 2 consoles and online. I think 10 for 2 more consoles makes sense.
I don't know. I pay the family.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the.
35 a year, right?
You can get up to 8
Yeah.
people in the family plan. It's like you can make it dirt
Yeah.
cheap.
I don't even remember what it comes out to.
I wonder if this expansion pass will have a family option. Probably will. Sure it will.
Oh, it's gonna have to. Like it'd
Yeah.
be ridiculous not to. The question, like, it is curious though how much it would be. Like I don't know. I feel like even going $10 is kind of a stretch. Like that's.
I think $10 is
No,
fair.
I think $10.
I've-
Yeah.
I feel like I won't pay $10 for it.
Well,
Not until it's like if it's fleshed out more. Bring a bunch more games,
I'll
then
pay $10
yeah.
for it. Hell,
Now, granted, those-
Ocarina of Time, well, I mean, I already replayed Mario 64, but
Just
Star
showing it
Fox
off on the stream.
Online? That's all I
bruh,
need to know. I'll
bruh,
pay $10
the
just for
the
Star
opening
Fox
lineup is
Online.
Mario Kart 64, Ocarina of Time, Star Fox 64, Mario Tennis, Dr. Mario 64, Mario 64, Yoshi's Story, Sin and Punishment, and I have no idea what this is. Win Back.
I don't know what that is.
Maybe I'll give it a try.
It
Maybe
seems
it's
like
cool.
some kind of
It's just there because there was a hole in the
shooter.
thing. There's a hole in the graphics. So like, what can we put in there?
Mhm.
But no, it's a great line. And then also,
They confirmed a whole bunch of other stuff on
Majora's Mask is coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like,
Majora's.
So like, don't get me wrong, really good games, and I want to play them. It's just, do I really want to drop
Yes,
that
I
much?
do.
Like
Bro, but look at the
when
Genesis
I
lineup.
could just be
It's
playing.
Look at the
like
Genesis
money.
lineup: Castlevania,
$10 a
Shinobi,
year.
Sonic,
You
Echo
split
the
that between
Dolphin,
Even
Golden
5
Axe,
people, $2 the extra year.
Gunstar Heroes. There's a
Like,
lineup,
and
bro.
again, like especially like we're talking like this 2022 lineup. Like I'm not gonna be playing those.
I mean, I'm gonna play in October.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
gonna
not
be
gonna
playing
be-
day one.
I
Star
might even
Fox
get the
Online,
controller,
baby.
maybe. I mean, I probably
Yeah, I'm
shouldn't,
getting
but
the
I might.
controller. I'm not gonna be happy about that $50 price point, but there's no way I'm not gonna play N64 on an N64 controller. It's
I
just
wonder if
such a
they fixed
different
the
controller.
joystick.
But look
I
at them
want-
graphics,
Yeah,
though.
I'm interested. I hope
I-
the joystick has like a.
I have
rubber
Ocarina of
tip to
Time
it.
pulled up on the stream.
I
I
just
feel
hope the
like they kinda
joystick
have to
doesn't
change
like
the joystick because
Yeah, it
last
was
time they got sued.
trash.
Last time they had to send gloves out to people that hurt their hands. Maybe
Oh,
that's
man.
why Mario Party's not on here. They don't want another scandal.
Well, the thing is, Mario Party's coming out October 29th. This is coming out late October, so I think it's a little
Oh.
redundant. Maybe you wait for that.
Oh, you mean
Yeah, the real Mario Party. I
Yo,
mean, by real Mario
surprisingly
Party, I mean a
enough,
remake of Mario Parties that came out during that time. Like,
Yeah.
so
Out of,
you wait for
out
that.
of all those games, which one do you want to play the most?
Oh,
Star Fox 64 Online, probably. And Ocarina of Time.
and all
Instead
of
of
them.
Punishment, I haven't tried, so
All of
See,
them.
those three.
it's one of those ones where
We're
it's
getting
like
F-Zero X eventually online, bro. Me and Andres.
It's gonna be the first. It's gonna be the
And-
first. It's gonna be the first
Yeah,
online
so-
F-Zero. Holy
Yeah.
shit!
oh, you'll finally have your F-Zero.
in HD,
Yeah,
kinda.
Sort of.
Kinda. Yeah.
It'll be
It's
on a
like a
1080p
4x3.
screen.
I think
Yeah.
it's a 4x3 720 is what Mario 64 was in the
Yeah.
collection, so I imagine it's the same emulator.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's one of those like personally like the game I probably have the biggest connection to there would be the two Zelda games, but I'm looking at
Yeah.
the list being like, if I actually get that, the first thing I'm gonna play is gonna be Star Fox.
64
By
is
the
my
way-
biggest nostalgia system because it's what I grew up
Yeah.
with
Me too.
when I was, 3-4 years old till I playing
I
that
had
until I was like
I just want to point out, guys, Mario 64 is now on the is gonna be on the eShop again. People were like,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's
they're
gone
back-
forever." No, it's not. It's back in less than
Not
a
that you
year
can't still buy the collection because it's on like every store shelf everywhere.
for now.
For
yeah,
now.
no, it's I don't know. I don't know if I'll get that. That's
Well, we'll
I
see
got
what
so
the
many other
pricing
things to
is.
play.
We'll see what the pricing is.
If it's dirt cheap, then I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in, like,
I mean,
full on.
if it's $10 more, even if the say that the family plan is 50, well, that'd be 45 instead of 35. Okay, you can still split that up to 8 people. So even if you only have 5 people, that's only $2 extra a year.
Yeah, but I'm not-
year.
I'm not splitting
$2.
that.
You can find that on your
I'm-
couch.
That's like
$10. You can fully
my
find your
my
couch
Switch.
and in your closet.
It's my kids' accounts. my sister's accounts.
So the family membership is $35. But you can get 8 people on there and split it, so it's cheaper. But just by yourself is $20 for a year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I don't think they're gonna do $5. I just don't. They release. No, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be $10. Yeah, I think it's gonna be $10.
It's gonna be wherever they think they can get the most
Where they
amount
can
of
get
people
away
to
with.
sign up for it. Because to be perfectly honest, $10. If too many people say nah, versus if it's $2 extra and it's like, well, why wouldn't I? It's just $2, and then everyone buys into it. If you get like 8 times the sales at $2 than you did $10, suddenly you're out ahead. Like it.
I don't know. Maybe you could
I
argue
think they can
$5.
get-
If you have the
I'm
numbers,
pretty sure anybody who actually wants to play these games isn't going to be like $10. So that's too much. Like most of these games,
That's-
like,
It's
are
$10 for a
about-
year. Okay.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. Is
$10
you're not
per year.
trying to sell it like it's a service. So you're not trying to sell it to them once. You're trying to see like, so you're not trying to sell it to the people that are like, oh, I'm getting this no matter what. You're trying to sell it to the people that are on the fence or are saying, nah, I'm not going to do that. You're trying to hit a price point where they're like, well, why not?
I think
It's the
$10
same.
is kind of that price point. I think you're just cheap.
Okay, so
Sensible.
$10 a
I'm just
month
kidding.
is a lot, but we're talking about $10 more in a year. So a total of
In
$30 in a year. I
In a
think
community
they can
that
get away with that.
complained about $20 for a year. For
Yeah, but people are going to complain no matter
online.
what.
Well, N64 was one that people just really. It was
But
one of the
the-
reasons people didn't like the service.
It's what people have been wanting, though, to Brandon's point.
Like nobody
And they're adding
cares,
Sega
hardly
Genesis.
anybody cares at all about NES and SNES. Those are just things that like people might dabble in once or twice. It's like cool. Why do I have to pay for this? I feel like people feel like they're paying for something they don't want, whereas optionally getting something that you do want, you're much more likely to do that.
Yeah, it is optional, right? You don't need that too. So I think the complaints will be less substantial. But the other thing is that the value of Nintendo Online that they've tried to add is a multiplayer with the virtual console games. But because NES and SNES games weren't really built around multiplayer, it's not that big a deal, right? But
Yeah,
in
nobody
contrast
really
to N64, most of them are built around multiplayer, and it's more players. It's a more significant value proposition.
Multiplayer Star Fox 64. I cannot say that enough times.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
yeah. Bro,
The other
we're
issue
gonna
I'm gonna
play.
have
We're
with
gonna
it-
play Star Fox 64 together. Okay.
The greatest thing. I will
My-
buy you.
Oh
No,
man,
it's
we're
bad.
playing Star Fox 64
If
online
it's
together.
expensive for you, I will buy it for you.
Like it's my other kind of
I'll put you
issue
on
with
my
it right
family
now.
plan Or something. I don't know.
It's especially like throwing like even throwing $10 a year to it is that the online like the actual workings of the online for the NES and SNES are absolutely garbage and they don't work. So I need to see it. Like I'm not giving them a penny extra until they can show me that it actually functions and it is actually enjoyable. Because if we are playing Star Fox 64 together, but we are seeing everything with a 10 to 15 second delay, I'm not playing that. Like the single player works.
Did you hear about
Oh
the?
my God,
Did you
it
hear
was
about
bad on low latency.
Even with my terrible one, I was using my Switch upstairs. The Wi-Fi barely even reached at all, and I was getting a couple seconds of lag, which is horrible.
a couple
like,
seconds is
even like
unplayable to me.
Even
for-
like 0.2
Like-
seconds of lag is a lot.
I'm talking like Mario 1 with so I'm online with someone, we don't know whose turn it is because the lag is too bad.
Jesus.
Like
I've never had it.
and
be anywhere
and
that bad.
and
I've
by
not-
the way, that was after we activated the low latency mode, which was hidden in menus.
yeah,
so-
I do hope it's better. I do think it will be.
They
I
like
think
it needs to be proven.
I think it needs to be pointed out.
Will
that
not spend money until it's proven that it works.
people have noticed that
That's
the European versions of the N64 Online games are running on 50 hertz as opposed to 60.
the PAL versions.
The PAL versions. That's what they showed off in the European Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, which is easily enough fixed. You just make an American account and then you download the American version.
You know, most people who are in Europe probably won't do that. But yes.
I mean, they
yeah.
could do it. If
Yeah.
they're not lazy.
Yeah.
And look up like one Google search.
But you know,
Like,
I do want to.
I don't think it's a really big deal.
I do want to
The PAL
continue.
versions do have,
Sorry,
like,
Brandon.
Extra languages. The PAL versions have extra languages in them, so some people might actually use those.
Okay. I was gonna say that I want to continue to progress through the topics. Is there anything else you guys want to say about N64 Online before we move on?
No.
No, I'm good.
Okay. So we haven't touched on Bayonetta 3 yet. Bayonetta 3 is an interesting one because the way they showed that off, we weren't sure what it was at first, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
is it Xenoblade? Maybe it's like Xenoblade X2 or something because of the city, and then you're like, oh no, maybe not. It's probably Bayonetta. But then they show the dog, and you're like, oh, what the hell is this? It's Astral Chain 2. We're never seeing Bayonetta 3 now. And then you see this, you see her flying, and you're like, they trolled us. And that's that kind of trolling you expect from Smash Brothers, but they did it with the Bayonetta 3, which I really appreciate. You know, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, how is Nintendo going to move past the Smash cycle? Well, I think they just focus on having hype reveals and having personality in them. Bayonetta 3 had that same type of Smash type of personality where they made a reference to Astral Chain, you know? And they made us think, oh, this is Astral Chain 2, great, but also not Bayonetta 3, what the hell? Except it is Bayonetta 3, thank God, finally. And like that was, I think it was a really great, and not only was it like a pretty cool cutscene leading up to it, but they were like, oh, no, here's gameplay. They were just like, here's gameplay. And they just gave a whole bunch of gameplay. They showed us the demon kaijus that you can control fighting each other, which apparently is a little bit of a carryover from the canceled Scalebound project, apparently.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because the lead designer worked on both projects, and they really wanted to get that idea in there. Now, Bayonetta's always had that element of like controlling demons, but now you actually like fully control them and you can fight with them. So that's like a big thing for Bayonetta. That's crazy. It's gonna do some huge visual spectacles. It's a really interesting gameplay with that mechanic of controlling the giant demons. So it's exciting. Like this is great. I'm actually really into this, and I love how Bayonetta is animated. Like they did a great job of making her.
Yeah. I like her new hairstyle.
Both. She's clearly like sexualized, but also like not over the top either. Like it's kind of, I think it's like a good middle ground. Now there's been this speculation that this Bayonetta is not the same Bayonetta because it's actually a different voice actress. And there's actually, and I haven't finished. I need to go back through Bayonetta 1 and then play Bayonetta 2. I'm only got like partway through Bayonetta, but there is this other character. Without spoiling things, I don't know that much, so it's hard for me to even spoil. But this other character that's like maybe a younger version of Bayonetta that's like separate from Bayonetta. There's some speculation that maybe she's the new Bayonetta, and that will also sort of coincide with a different voice actress.
What I heard is that the voice actress said she didn't know what she was doing in the game exactly, and that she said she didn't know what she was going to do after. There would be like a sequel of what she was going to do, and some people think that Bayonetta might die, and then you play as that character that you see at the end that slashes the 2022. I have no idea. I don't know anything about Bayonetta. That's just a theory that I heard.
I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen. That's
I didn't hear anything about a different voice actor for Bayonetta. I don't know if that's. I don't know what you're.
She is a different voice actress. Like that's confirmed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a different. We don't know who the voice actress is, but we know it's a different voice actress. There was some tweet somewhere where she was like, "Oh man, I really hope you're gonna be the next Bayonetta. You were amazing. Well, you're gonna have to get used to it. I'm not gonna be there." Like something like that was said. It's already known, but it was a really good fake out. It does make you wonder though, like, are we gonna get an Astral Chain 2? Like,
we are. we're 100% getting Astral Chain 2. I have no doubt about that. The first one did really well. It ended on a huge cliffhanger that I don't see. And they teased it here again. Nah, yeah, they're probably already working on Astral Chain 2.
Yeah.
Or at least concept for it.
Oh yeah. Like, what did Astral Chain sold pretty well, didn't it? And isn't it supposed to be a trilogy? Like, wasn't that planned a trilogy, or at least more than one?
Said,
there's definitely more story to be had.
I wouldn't be surprised if they had planned a trilogy, because the story just there's
a lot they can do.
100%,
with it still.
There's room for a second one easy.
Yeah,
like, just from the cliffhanger.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so man, Bayonetta was looking good. Bayonetta's looking really good.
Great. Yep.
Yeah, I'm inspired. Like I mentioned, I haven't played Bayonetta 2 and I didn't finish Bayonetta 1. I'm now inspired to go back. I'm gonna beat Bayonetta 1. I'm gonna beat Bayonetta 2. Like this.
I've been meaning to play them just after playing Astral Chain because they're the same developers. And I'm like, this is so good. My biggest takeaway from the trailer was that most of the gameplay seemed to run at very smooth 60 FPS, which the first two do not on the Switch. The only time I noticed that there might have been slowdown was when they were like racing across the skyscrapers, when they were like twisting. I think they're like riding on like the Dragon Mount or something and just going over the buildings at the very end. It seemed to have some weird frame rate things that I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look. But it looked like it was running a lot better than the first two games did on the Switch, which makes sense because the engine's probably actually way more optimized. They've had a lot more time with the Switch. The first two games were the original engines for those were based off architecture that was very different from the Switches. So it didn't even run that well on the Xbox side, via like backwards compatibility. It didn't
on that note, though,
even on the Xbox One X.
There were a lot of times in that direct where I was looking at games being like, oh wow, that's actually running on Switch. Like, there's a lot of really good looking stuff coming. Like Splatoon 3, like especially some of that stuff coming from the single player side was looking like some of those environments look massive. Even if you don't get to access all of them, they look huge and it looks clean. Bayo looked fantastic. Again, Monster Hunter Monster Hunter is Monster Hunter, and that game just looks amazing.
I didn't see anything that I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is running on Switch. I just thought they were aesthetically pleasing. I don't know, maybe I'm just never like completely wowed by Switch games. Like, I don't think they look technically impressive. I think they're like, okay, this looks fine.
That's the game. I'm wowed by Doom Eternal on Switch. That game looks bad compared to most like standards of how a game should look. And I'm like super impressed with how that game looks.
I take it back. There was one game I saw that blew my mind visually. Ocarina of Time and 64 Online.
Oh yeah. Can't believe that's running.
Yeah.
Full 4x3 720p. How they push that many pixels, man?
Yeah. No,
See the polygons.
I was actually impressed with the dancing animation for Bayonetta. I think they did her dance when she summoned her demon. I thought that was really well done. But that's more of an animation thing, not necessarily like graphical amazingness. I was impressed with that. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It just looks nice. It just looks really nice. There are some parts where I feel like the textures are a little blurry, but overall, visually, I think it looks like a very charming, pleasant game, and I'm very excited to explore
Sometimes
it.
the shadow resolution's a little iffy, but it still looks good.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's in line with what I'd expect from a Switch game, which is just kind of how I feel about these. I feel like this is in line with what I think like the peak. They're really getting all they can out of Switch, and it's nice, but it's what I expected of the peak power of the Switch, I think. So, all very good stuff. All looks like the developers are really finding their footing with the Switch's hardware, getting the most out of the machine that really shouldn't be pushing visuals too far ahead of like the PS3 and Xbox 360 generation.
Yeah, I do want to see more Bayonetta 3 because I think that one's the one that like it has like almost a realistic art style, right? Like that's kind of like this is what Switch can do kind of thing. But I see there's a super chat here provided by Taker610. Thank you very much, Taker. Taker says or asks, is Ocarina of Time on NSO technically a Switch game? Oh, well, is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe a Switch game? I'd say so.
It runs on Switch, therefore it is a Switch.
It's not a Switch exclusive, but it is a Switch game. Yeah. By the way, there were rumors throughout the year of Ocarina of Time HD. And I feel like on this channel we always talked about that the most likely, most realistic way we could see Ocarina of Time come, and by the end of the year, to throw those Zelda fans a bone, would be Ocarina of Time on the eShop in some way. Did we not talk about that, Brandon? Multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's what happened. And Majora's Mask is coming too. So there you go. And I mentioned it earlier, right? But when 3D All-Stars went away, we talked about how Mario 64 would be coming back. It's back. Less than a year after it was discontinued. At least Mario 64 is back. So that was pretty good. These classic games, they're coming. Prime Trilogy, though. That one might not come when we expect it. Or not in the way we were thinking anymore. So we're now transitioning away from the Direct. We're going to talk about this Metroid Prime thing, and then we'll kind of close things out. So I talked about it earlier multiple times, but basically, Video Games Chronicle put out a report. Emily Rogers said some things. Andy Robinson said some things. Direct Feed Games said some things. I'm going to go ahead and just show this tweet right here, just so you have an idea of what's being said. This came out like right before the Direct, so a lot of people kind of missed it. But here we go. So Direct Feed Games, which I believe is actually Nate the Hate with a different account, just doing different things. But first, I'll read Andy Robinson's part. So Andy Robinson, Nintendo could be planning to release the original Metroid Prime for Switch without any of the other trilogy games, it's claimed. Then Direct Feed Games says, to my understanding, the information framed here is correct. Metroid Prime 1 is a fairly ambitious effort. Metroid Prime 2 and 3 may be more in line with a remaster, perhaps comparable to Twilight Princess Skyward Sword HD. So, there you go. The reason I've been calling it a remake is a fairly ambitious effort as opposed to something like a Skyward Sword HD. So what that to me screams is that Nintendo perhaps had Prime Trilogy, but you see what they're doing in Metroid Dread right now. They clearly have a plan. They're clearly pushing Metroid. They're clearly trying to push it to greater heights here. Prime Trilogy has been delayed to Kingdom Come. Maybe they'll save 2 and 3 at some point for a rainy day, the same way they're probably saving Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD. They're going to take Metroid Prime, the one of the 3 games that should be remade. It's Metroid Prime, and if you're only going to give us one of them, you give us Metroid Prime, and you redo it. However that may be. Because it's Nintendo, I don't expect it to be a full up, ground up remake. I expect it to be something more like what they did with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. They go back. They clean up most of those textures, HD, 1080p, widescreen, still hold that 60 frames per second. They'll redo some of the models, redo the lighting, more bloom effects, maybe some more particle effects. They fine-tune the gameplay for the Switch. Perhaps they offer a way to mimic the GameCube controls, but also they give dual analog controls with HD rumble actually integrated, gyroscopic aiming in there, and that even opens the door for some additional content as well. Not going to guarantee that, but if this is being called a fairly ambitious effort, something that goes beyond what we would expect from a Skyward Sword HD, then I feel like we are entering the territory of maybe seeing some additional content. What could that content be? There's a few different options. One option is perhaps they put in some canned boss fights. For example, Kraid, there was a render for Kraid in Metroid Prime. What if they were to put that in there and maybe they fit him into Magmoor Caverns, the one major area in Metroid Prime that's missing a big main boss. There are multiple bosses, but like in terms of a big main boss, like that, maybe you put that there, right? That's one possibility. Another possibility, I think we talked about it on stream earlier in the week. What if they just add like a epilogue campaign, like a side thing you do after the fact that offers a handful more hours. Maybe they take in some of the ideas they had for Metroid Prime 1.5, which was more meant as a psychological thriller, where they mess with your mind, maybe make it kind of like a little bit like Eternal Darkness, where the rooms are changing and there's an AI. It's like constantly like changing things around and messing with your mind and what you can see and what you're interacting with and how you play in the game world. Like maybe that could be like a side thing. Another option could be multiplayer. Give us a Metroid Prime multiplayer mode in there. Maybe you take what they did with Echoes and they rework that, put that into the Prime remake, give it multiplayer. And if they do that, the only reason they would do that is because they already have a plan for Prime 4 to integrate multiplayer in there. Like, I think if we see Metroid Prime with multiplayer, it's because Prime 4 is also going to have it. That would be the only thing. So when we do, if this ends up being real, it ends up being true, and ends up actually panning out and being completed, pay attention to what they offer in there. Because if they do offer multiplayer, that suggests that Prime 4 will also be multiplayer. If they don't, I would say that means that they're just focusing mostly on single player. But maybe they still offer some additional content, like some of the ideas I mentioned.
Right.
I think this, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how they handle this and what they do with 2 and 3. But either way, I agree with the idea of getting a Metroid game out next year. And the idea is Metroid Prime for the 20th anniversary of Metroid Prime. Follow up that momentum with Metroid Dread. Don't let this die. Build on it. And if Prime 1 comes out 2022, that leaves Nintendo on the Switch primed, pun intended, for a big Prime 4 explosion extravaganza in 2023. So maybe that's what they have planned.
Maybe. Personally, I think I said this earlier. I would prefer a remake of 1 to the trilogy. So if this is true, I'd be super happy. As far as
turn off the overlay. Go on.
I would prefer them to just focus on the main game and making it look as good as possible rather than making new content. And it would be interesting because if they're doing, I don't know, they could do it. I mean, Xenoblade did it, so it's possible. But I don't know. I kind of feel like I would like them to just do maybe a full remake. But I would be happy with this as Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition because that game, especially its lighting, is a lot better. And I feel like having a really good new lighting system in Metroid with how dark and atmospheric that game is at times would be really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with the lighting. Like, the lighting would be a huge deal for Metroid.
Yeah.
So...
But I mean, Doom, I know you've had this idea that when we see Prime Trilogy, it would be the beginning of the year and Prime 4 comes at the end of the year. But with this most recent rumor and the sources being Direct Feed Games and Andy Robinson, Video Games Chronicle, and Emily Rogers, where do you stand? Do you buy into the rumor? Do you think this changes your philosophy on what could maybe be happening? What do you think?
That changes pretty much everything. Right now, I won't change my prediction, other than to say that if this is how they're going to do it, I say they probably will release, I would imagine, Prime 1 as a remaster in that early slot, and then 4 later in the year, with going into the remasters in the next year, or like the 2 and 3 in the next year is what I would kind of assume. But as we hear more about it and as things develop, that definitely changes a lot of how that whole thing can play out. I don't think they have time for 2 to 3 releases realistically before Prime 4 comes out, unless they're going to start dropping these like the Prime 1 remake soon. Because I don't think we're still looking several years out. I think 2023, probably holiday, is where we're looking for Prime 4 at this point in time. Because I don't think it's going to hit 2022, and it's been a long time and we haven't seen anything. So if it's
might see it next year,
maybe, but if it's falling out to like 2024, we're getting into the time where you have to question if how the game is actually going to turn out, because generally when your dev cycles get pushing that long, there's usually something wrong.
Yeah, but the COVID also happened, and they restarted and they announced the restart January 2019, right? So like, this game has had a lot of it's been tough. Like, I'm sure the development cycle for Prime 4 has been tough between both those things. You know, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
And it's just hard to imagine it like still going, because once you start hitting 2024, you're now looking at a dual release for Switch and whatever the next gen console is.
You're looking at basically what, 6 years of the, no, 5 years of the, no, a lot. Let's see. If you began late 2018 is probably when they actually restarted it, right? So then all the way to that's like 6 years. If you release a holiday 2024, it's nearly 6 years of development time. Seems excessive.
Yeah, when 5 is kind of like the top end of what most studios will want for a turnaround on a project. Especially like, and Nintendo's probably going to want to not be like, how many years will that project have been costing Nintendo money as it was restarted from scratch? They're not going to want like a 6 to 8 year dev cycle on that.
I think 5 is fair. You restart. You want a really big, super ambitious, Breath of the Wild quality Metroid Prime 4. 5 years seems fair at the latest. But
4 to 5.
6 is pushing past Breath of the Wild. It's too long.
I think 4 to 5 is a pretty, like, 4 is like a very common dev cycle for bigger games. 5 is, a pretty long dev cycle, and once you get past 5, you're usually talking about development hell and all sorts of issues kicking in. So I just,
at that point the project starts to become not worth it,
especially since it's technically like, yes, this leg of the project will have been 5 to 6 years at that point in time, but the project itself also had how long?
I think the only reason they would want to do that in 2024 is if they're releasing a new system in 2024 and they're working on a cross-gen version.
Yeah, the other thing
is the only reason I would see it being that long.
I also don't. While I do expect Metroid to make some leaps and bounds this generation in terms of popularity, I personally am not sure Nintendo wants to use that as like the cross-platform launch game.
But that's the problem. Is it's not like, this is the whole reason why
Prime 4 needs to come out 2023. It needs to. For the future of the franchise, it needs to, I think.
We've talked about it constantly. Like, this is a great time for them to reboot the franchise and get Prime 4 going, because everything sells really well on Switch and everyone's really hyped about it. And there's a lot of core gamers on Switch right now. And this is where you can get that big audience. And if you're going to push it to like a dual release, for starters, it's not Zelda. And even Zelda was questioned. Like, people were like, is that really the best choice?
I mean, it was.
As your basically only launch title?
It was.
Of course it was. It definitely 100% was. But at the time, how many people were questioning that?
Yeah. No, sorry.
That's Zelda. If you're talking Metroid, that's definitely not the game you want to be pushing your system with. Like a brand new system.
Even though I agree with you, you kind of just alluded to it. I think Metroid has that potential, though. And I think Nintendo knows that. I think that's why we're that's why we're seeing Dread get this push. It's why, assuming this rumor is true, and I believe it is, that they're doing this Metroid Prime remake. They want to follow up the Dread hype sooner than later. Like, I think this Prime remake comes out next year. My opinion. Like, that's why I think we're hearing about it now.
It has to.
Yeah, like it has to. The idea is that it comes out for the 20th anniversary. The 20th anniversary is next year. So, I think this is all meant to build up momentum for the Metroid franchise. They want Metroid to become more of a pillar. And actually, there's a couple things that chat want to get to here. So there we go. Also, LP added me. Between these being sold separately, Metroid Prime 4 and new 2D Metroid games, could Metroid become a yearly franchise? I don't know if Metroid's going to become a yearly franchise. Not like Zelda. I mean, it could build up to that. But I think we're getting to a point where it's going to become a frequent franchise. Where if we don't see it in 1 year, chances are the next year we're going to hear something. So that's where I think Metroid is going to be getting to fairly soon.
I think you're going to be looking at a yearly franchise for a short period of time while they get all the Prime stuff caught out.
Yeah.
And then the issue with with Metroid being a yearly franchise compared to something like Zelda or
Doesn't have the spin-offs.
like Pokemon, like you don't have the backlog. Like you don't have all the games. Like you just don't have the numbers to do that. You're going to catch up too fast.
Well, here's the thing.
But again, if you get this out where it's kind of yearly, you space out a few releases, and then by the time next generation rolls around, you're actually looking at a pretty strong place to be doing the remakes, the new stuff. So you have your 2D, your Prime, your remake of whatever, then your spin-off. Like you then by next generation, yes, I could see it. If everything goes well, they could see it becoming an annual
series or a couple.
Yeah. I mean, that's the interesting. It's a good observation, guys, because there are multiple Metroid spin-offs that have come out. Like, so Nintendo has explored the idea of having Metroid being a more frequent franchise. If you go back to the early 2000s, or just the first decade of the 2000s, right? Like, you had Metroid Prime in 2002 and Metroid Fusion in 2002. Metroid Hunters. Metroid Prime 2 Echoes came out 2004. Zero Mission. When did Zero Mission come out? That was on Game Boy Advance. There was Metroid Zero Mission was also 2004. So they had two Metroid games come out in 2002. They had two Metroid games come out in 2004. And then Metroid Prime Hunters, that got delayed, but there was like a demo. They actually used Metroid Prime Hunters as a launch title for the Nintendo DS. It was like a packaged-in demo, though, not a full-blown game.
I remember that when the DS, they didn't even try to sell the DS, and then they're like, "This isn't a replacement." And they're like, "You know what? Let's just replace. Let's just go with this."
It's kind of funny though. Like, you kind of look at the first decade of the 2000s. It kind of showed what Nintendo wanted for Metroid, because they did use Metroid to launch the DS. They had, again, like I just said, the Metroid Prime Hunters came out 2006. So you had two in 2002, 2004, Hunters in 2006, and then Prime 3 came out 2007, right? 2007. So that's already 6 games. Then actually I think Metroid Other M came out 2010. So within 8 years, that's another major Metroid game. Even though it wasn't reviewed well and things that wasn't received well, so it was a major Metroid game. But it doesn't even include Metroid Prime Pinball, by the way, which is like the best pinball game of all time. Just saying.
I haven't tried that.
It is so good.
I would like to play it. I do enjoy pinball. I played pinball for like 2 hours straight on my phone the other night.
It came out in 2005. It was actually one of my favorite Nintendo DS games because it came with a Rumble Pack, and it was really fun to play with the Rumble Pack. Like, it was a fun game. So you just think about that, right? So Metroid Prime 1, Metroid Fusion, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, Metroid Zero Mission, Metroid Prime, the demo, that was kind of like its own unique content launch to the DS. Then obviously, eventually when Metroid Prime Hunters came out, Metroid Prime Pinball, Metroid Other M, Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. So between 2002 and 2010, there was 9 Metroid releases.
I think so.
Yeah, and then after that, what do we got? We didn't get any. All we got was Federation Force and Samus Returns. That's all we gotten since. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. But Federation Force and Pinball, like, there is a history, and Hunters, like, there is a history of spin-offs being done in Metro. Like, Nintendo has explored around with that idea. So conceivably, what could happen, right? We could be looking at a situation where maybe we see the return of the Federation Force series, or maybe we see the return of the Hunter series. Like maybe Metroid Prime 6 is being single player, 2D Metroid 6 is being single player, but they bring back these other series that they try it out and they do them better. Hunters can be the online, right? It could be like the ODST or whatever of like the Metroid series. There's different things. If you bring back pinball though, Nintendo, yeah, it'd be awesome.
I mean, at least put it on NSO.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do anything else with it, just drop it on an NSO. Come on.
It's doable.
But,
that's one of the few DS games that would be out that they could do with minimal issues, for sure. Hey, Nintendo Prime was in the chat. What's up, buddy? How you doing? I got another super chat here from Taker610. Let me get to that quick. Taker610, thank you, by the way. Aonuma. We are celebrating Zelda's 35th anniversary with Game & Watch. That's it. Skyward Sword HD, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask on NSO are not part of the 35th, but you're getting them. Nintendo fans. What? Yeah, so, if you think about it, Nintendo did give us some Zelda love. They gave it to us. I think perhaps there was initially a 35th anniversary plan, but COVID threw that off. Breath of the Wild 2 had to be saved until next year. But we still, the Zelda fans haven't given their bone. They even got the Age of Calamity DLC on top of that. So, there's some stuff. Definitely. LP, keep in mind, 2024 is also the 20th anniversary of Metroid Prime 2. You could just release the remaster then. And I'm glad you bring that up because we were just talking about how Metroid could return to becoming, it's almost an annual franchise if you look at the first decade of the 21st century. Like, you look at how Nintendo handles Zelda now, they kind of, every 4 or 5 years, they remaster another 3D Zelda, right? They could save 2 and 3 and do something similar. They could do that.
I think so.
And, there is still, they could also go back and they could remake Fusion. They could remake Zero Mission. They could remake Super Metroid with the Dread engine. Like, that, those are also options. And I just mentioned the different spin-off possibilities as well. So, like, they could very much build a franchise that it has some sort of Metroid goodness on a near annual basis. That's where Nintendo's at with Zelda. Mario's like, it's multiple games a year, right? But they're all not traditional Mario, but still.
The name gets out there annually. Pokemon does it.
Yeah. True. Very true. Yeah.
But we're all like, Mario's a little bit different because just the options.
Yeah.
The other ones, they just have more to pull from right now that they can. Plus, at the moment, very significantly larger fan bases. I could see Metroid building up to it, though. I really could, and I think that'd be a really good idea.
Dread.
I think it would be a really good idea for Nintendo. I think Dread is a great beginning. Oh my, that game looks so good. It looks so smooth and for 2D Metroid coming out on Switch, I think that game nails it. I think it's perfect. They definitely could build up to an annual, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time, and I don't think you'd see it until probably next generation, provided things work well sales wise with Dread, Prime 4, and whatever else they have going on.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep. So, I think we've kind of talked about like everything. We've touched on almost pretty much everything, right? The big stuff. We were touching on what this kind of means for 2022. I mean, it's just kind of like, all these things are nuts, Thank you for modding, by the way, Super Chris. I appreciate that. But 2022, it's just there's so much potential there. Like we're closing the year strong with frequent quality releases, and it looks like we're opening up 2022 with Legends Arceus. And we got Triangle Strategy, and we know about Sunbreak in summer, and then Kirby the Forgotten Land in spring. We know Bayonetta 3 and Breath of the Wild 2 are slated for 2022, along with Splatoon 3. And then we have these rumors for Metroid Prime Remake, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and Donkey Kong and Fire Emblem. And even if those rumors don't come to fruition for next year, there's a myriad of options. So we're in a position where it's looking pretty darn good. But I do want to talk about one more thing, and Brandon kind of touched on it already earlier. Because there is this doubt that some games are going to be pushed out, right? And a lot of people are pointing to Breath of the Wild 2 not making it. I agree with you, Brandon. I don't think that's likely. And the reason why I don't think that's likely is because you look at how long Nintendo waited to give us a release timing. I think that goes to show that when they finally did tell us, that's when they knew. They were very patient in large part because of that, I think. I don't think they would have told us if they didn't feel confident about that 2022 release.
Yeah, they danced around giving any sort of window for a little bit, and then they gave a window. I think they're pretty confident in.
It's not a situation where they give us the initial trailer and they give us a year, and then every year we wait. I think what they did instead is they gave us the initial trailer, and instead of giving us a prediction of when they think they'll be done, they just didn't give us a prediction, and they waited until they knew, which was 2 years later.
Yeah. Plus, and they also gave us, like, I'd be concerned if they gave us the year before COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
But they didn't.
Afterwards.
So
right. More than a year after the major outbreak.
This is what we're dealing with now as what our normal is during development and with all the issues in development. And via this, if nothing else gets better or worse, this is where it ends. This is the year that we'll give. Like, I'm pretty sure they weren't like, oh, well, this will be cleared up in 2 months and nothing will ever happen again and we'll run into no issues. So,
right.
We'll just speed up that prediction again. Like, this is going to be, they were predicting. Like, governments were saying this is going to be for the long haul. This is not going to be over quickly. So they, I would assume, decided if we are at this pace, when will we finish? Okay, that's the date we give. Like,
yeah, they've had
really
tons of time to contemplate and know just how well development's going, just how far they are, what the development situation is, and they had plenty of time to figure all that stuff out.
And they had plenty of time to say, sorry guys, but COVID hit hard and we got to push this back another year. And that would be a freebie. Everyone would be like, oh, that really sucks. But yeah, that's how the world works.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't even have to give us a release window. They could just been like, oh, hey, here's it again. Isn't that cool, guys? Goodbye.
Yeah. Just drool for us. We'll be back later. Like, so
we'll throw you another scrap in a couple of years, keep you alive just merrily.
There's one more thing.
Later, they give us like some sort of like just hand drawn art. Be like, yeah, that's what you get this time.
There's one more thing that came out recently that we have not mentioned. We got confirmation, I believe, early last week that Daemon X Machina 2 is in the works.
Oh yeah, and that just puzzled me because didn't think the first one reviewed very well.
Yeah, I'll tell you this.
People were crazy hyped for it.
It may have sold well enough.
Are people crazy hyped for it?
Keep in mind, not every game needs to sell 1 million copies for the product to be considered successful. Okay, so we should keep that in mind. The other thing I want to point out, and I don't want to spoil too much, but let's just say there is a Daemon X Machina reference in No More Heroes 3. So that's all I'm saying with that. That's because the publisher is the same. I think that's with intention. Same thing with the Astral Chain reference in Bayonetta, right? It's coming from the same people. They put references in there. I think it means something. I think it means that it's also in the works. I think that the fact that he references their other game franchises they work with is because, hey, don't forget about this one. you know?
I don't
So-
think they'd reference it if they were trying to sweep it under the rug.
Right. Exactly. So, that's also something coming. I'm not saying it's coming out next year, but, another project, an exclusive project likely in the works for the Nintendo Switch, probably. So, yeah. But to close things out, guys, if there's anything else you want to put out in the chat, feel free to do it now. We'll try and maybe get one or two, maybe. But, you guys have any final thoughts? Game of the week, or the announcement or news of the week that has you most excited, be it Kirby or Bayonetta or something else like Daemon X Machina or Metroid? What has you most excited from last week?
Really looking forward to Kirby. I finally care about a Kirby game. Like, I've dabbled in it a little bit, but I've never even bought the game. I've not bought one game in that whole series. It's been out for 30 years. I'm finally hyped to buy one. It's gonna be great. So that's what I'm excited for.
My channel mainly revolves around Splatoon and Monster Hunter.
Yeah. And you
So
got both.
that's
You got both.
I know, and it scares me too because they both might release summer.
Yeah.
Like,
It's gonna be a busy
that'd
summer.
be a very
Oh, God.
painful trying to do like
Yeah,
consistent.
I think
videos for
Nintendo will
both
give some
and-
space
yeah,
to Sunbreak, though. You'll get at least 2 weeks.
That's not gonna help.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh well, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
They're both gonna be great games. They're gonna be a blast. I'm gonna love them.
Yeah. I'll wait to talk about my most hype thing. I want to get through the chat real quick before we call it a night. LP. I hope Xenoblade 3 is first half of 2022. I'm doubting now though. I think that it's fair to doubt. I think not first half of 2022. If anything second half. We'll see what happens. I can't read the name. Is it I can't read the text, but I'll read what you had to say here. I don't want to butcher your name, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Maybe I'll try the first one. Anthohoben, but the letters are different. I'm an old school gamer, and I skipped the fun of the Metroid series playing only Mario and Zelda franchises. I hyped as with this upcoming Dread. Regards, guys. I'm a Russian follower of the podcast. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you're excited for Dread. Give it a try. I think you're gonna become a fan. Trial guys, they still haven't given us a release time, and it's been in development for what, 2 years now? I'm not sure what game you're referring to. Splatoon 3? Bayonetta 3? I'm not sure, Trial guy, what you're referring to.
idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're talking Prime 4. Yeah, I'm not sure. ASAP Bro, think Sega would be open to Nintendo buying the IP rights to Bayonetta? Of Bayonetta.
Probably.
It's gotta be something that at least sort of considered. I don't know if Sega wants to let that go, but I mean, Bayonetta's basically Nintendo, so I would love it if at some point they're just like, yes. It's kind of like, remember when Nintendo bought out Next Level Games and we were like, okay, what does this change? Like,
We've actually talked about it on this podcast. We had a long discussion about that. What it comes down to a lot of times is that Nintendo isn't looking to own every property that they work with. They're not out there to buy companies. They're out there looking for companies
to work
that work with them, and they want working companies. Things like Monolith was not something that they were like, oh, we need to buy this. It was, oh, Monolith could use someone taking them in, and they negotiated that. That would, like, Monolith coming in and Nintendo was negotiated. When they buy a studio, they will bail out a studio that they work with. They will,
if they think they're worth it. That's
yeah,
rare.
you know, like, so buying
Nintendo owned
rights
Rare
to
partially, so-
Bayonetta, again, it's one of those things where they've like, well, Bayonetta was saved by Nintendo, so it stays on Nintendo. Like that, like they get that because of relationships that they've built, and that's why they do it. They don't need to buy it, and I don't think they want to try to like force buying it. Like, let Like Sega owning it's worth more to them. Nintendo still has the exclusive. Everyone's happy, and they both get what they want out of it.
I think they buy
So
Bayonetta
Nintendo
when they're maybe going to lose its exclusivity, if they decide it's
Even-
worth keeping it.
Yeah, even then, like I don't think they would buy the IP. They would just pay for an exclusive. Like
It depends.
they don't need the IP itself. And again, it's then people are like earlier they're like, well, why? Someone asked how Sega Genesis is on NSO. Like, aren't they competing? It's like, well, no, they work together. This is part of it, where Nintendo isn't trying to go out and buy your IPs from you. They're going to work with you on your IPs, and oh, your IP is in trouble. Well, I think it's a good fit. Why don't we publish it and make it happen?
Yeah.
You know, that's a very Nintendo sort of thing. So
It's kind of like, for example, Final Fantasy, clearly there's a favoritism towards PlayStation with a Final Fantasy franchise, right? And people kind of look at, like, Final Fantasy characters as, like, Sony characters. Like, for example, Cloud. Like, Cloud is associated with Sony, but he's not actually a PlayStation character, right? So, the same thing with Bayonetta. I think Bayonetta is now associated with Nintendo, right? But is not actually a Nintendo character, but for all intents and purposes might as well be.
And to be honest, if Bayonetta came to PC a little bit after coming to the Switch, people would still look at Bayonetta as a Nintendo game, and they would just be really excited that PC players get a chance to play it. Like this, it doesn't really, like, it doesn't hurt the brand at all, and it doesn't hurt Nintendo. So I think that's why you basically wouldn't see Nintendo doing it. If Sega was looking to sell it, and they came like we like,
Yeah.
oh, we're in trouble, we need to sell something, we feel like we can sell the Bayonetta franchise, would you like to purchase the IP? Then I think that would be something Nintendo would consider. They'd be like, yeah, we'll help you out, and then we'll get the IP in return. You know, it's a win-win on both ends. But in the meantime, they would rather just, well, what if we just publish another Bayonetta game, and then you guys have the money to do something, like, keep going. So it's
a great point. I mean, you look at, like, for example, Nintendo's relationship with Microsoft, right? Like, it's you know, doing things in good faith, just working together. Sometimes it's beneficial just for two different parties just to be able to work together. But again, to your point, like, I think if Nintendo has something going that they like, and things change where they may lose that, that's when they're like, okay, let's do something about this to secure it, right? So they have Next Level Games, they have Monolith Soft, you know, I don't know, Bayonetta is like a franchise, so it's a little different, but
yeah.
If Bayonetta 3 becomes like a big seller, and then it's threatened to go elsewhere, and they lose it, maybe then they'll do it. But we'll see. That's another thing. Reason I'm excited for Bayonetta 3, because I think this is an opportunity for the franchise to reach a whole other level. You know, like the Switch effect. So that's very exciting. And I think right now I'm motivated to play through the Bayonetta game. So, you know, hopefully other people are as well. Moving on here, though, so I see what Troy was referring to when he said they still haven't given us a release date time, and it's been in development for, 2 years now, because he specified later for Breath of the Wild 2. So, actually, Breath of the Wild 2 started development in 2017. We have interviews from Monuma. They started the next Zelda project afterwards. So, the game's been in development since 2017, and they gave us a release year. They don't need to tell us anymore until we're within 6 months of release. Maybe even less. So
let's be honest, it's going to be a blowout at E3, and it's going to be a holiday title. So it's going to be one of those. It's not going to be in December. It's probably not going to be November.
I think it's going to be November. Actually,
it could be, but like,
why do you think it's probably not?
Because it allows them to sell it for longer during the holiday season, and it leads to a bigger number at the end of the holiday season that they can report back. Interesting
point. I'll tell you that. I mean, you know, the Pokemon usually comes out in November, right? Yeah. But if we go back to before the era of Breath of the Wild, Zelda games would come out in November. Like, that's the historical time that they come out. But you know, if it's not November, October, right? Like, yeah.
I feel like we have a very narrow window as to when it's coming. Like,
Yeah.
we know we basically know when it's probably coming out to a very like couple of months.
Yeah. I think it would fit
So-
for November though, because I don't think we're getting a Pokemon game next year. Well, we are. It's Legends Arceus coming out late January.
Yeah, true.
We may
true.
get a Pokemon game early 2023, or they just wait till the holiday for Gen 9, like something like that.
That's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's because it's uncharted territory, right? Like, what are they gonna do different this time? We'll find out.
I'm really surprised it's coming earlier in the year and they're not waiting till like at least till like summer or something. Like to have the two pushed back against each other. Like I don't get that one.
Yeah. So I see Traga here is asking, what would be the beginning, middle, and end for Legend of Splatoon 3 and Breath of the Wild 2? So I was talking about earlier in the podcast how like I feel like those are gonna be like the three big like selling games for Nintendo, like the potential 20+ million sellers. And I think Nintendo's plan is to have them. Pokemon Legends Arceus is already confirmed for January 28th, so it comes out at the beginning of the year. Splatoon 3 is seeming like likely a summer window game, and then Breath of the Wild 2 is a holiday game, and then they have other cool stuff in between, like Kirby and Bayonetta 3. So that's what I kind of see how the plan is looking right now. I think pretty much everyone's kind of in agreement with that. Breath of the Wild 2 comes at the end, Splatoon is in the middle, Pokemon's already confirmed for the beginning. Like that's
we're assuming either like March, April, or it's going to be like it can't be like it can't come out before Pokemon, and it's definitely not coming out after Zelda, and Zelda is definitely holiday. You're not gonna mess around with that one.
Yeah, so maybe they come out within a couple months of each other. That's possible. But
the closest I see it would be very end of March. For Splatoon would be like the earliest I could see it coming out, and I don't see it coming out after E3.
Really? You think it comes out before E3?
I think it lands before E3.
Oh, I think it comes out after E3.
I think it lands before E3, and I think they do a big push at E3 for it with Worlds.
Interesting. I mean, they could just have a tournament there.
Oh,
but it's just like a preview of the game. But... Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll find out in February when they have the earlier direct. Just checking the chat here before. Yeah, Freaky Deaky 3D Kirby looks pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've reached the end of the discussion here. Is there anything else you guys want to cover? I think we got it.
I think we got it all.
I mean, there's certainly a lot to dissect, right? But hey, we're not getting another direct for like 4 months, so it's cool. But I'll tell you that the thing that excites me the most from what we got announced last week. I mean, the Metroid Prime remake actually, that's pretty hype. But I think the thing that's pretty hype. But I'm gonna give it to Kirby and the Forgotten Land, because that is a brand new game. But not only is it a brand new game, it's a brand new game from a franchise that I've wanted so much more from for so long. And now we're finally getting it. And when you think about what's going on here, I feel like it's really special. It's not just that I think Kirby and the Forgotten Land is going to be a special game. It's also that you look at what Nintendo's doing with Metroid. It's all full circle. It all comes back to Metroid. Maybe we get this Metroid Prime remake, but you look at what Nintendo's doing Metroid Dread, right? They're reviving this franchise, and they're doing something special with it. We're seeing a situation where it's not just Mario, it's not just Zelda, it's not just Pokemon, Animal Crossing, or Splatoon, or Smash, or Mario Kart taking all the spotlight. It's always those 7. Those are the ones that always take all the spotlight. Now it's other things. Metroid Dread is the game that everyone's hyped for this holiday. Kirby is the most exciting game from the Direct. It's not Animal Crossing, it's not Splatoon. Like, yeah, people are excited about those things, but like the thing that's attracting all the attention right now is one of Nintendo's lesser used franchises. And that's exciting because it suggests that we could be seeing more things like that down the road. Who knows what they're going to do with Donkey Kong? Who knows what happens with Xenoblade 3? Maybe they push it to a whole other level. Look at Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3 could take the series to a whole other level as well. Heck, you know, what could we see in the future down the road? F-Zero, Kid Icarus, Wave Race. Like, Nintendo's doing some special stuff here, and I think they actually are making me feel like the Switch is the best Nintendo system of all time. And I'm not just talking about because there's so many old games on the system, which is great. I'm just talking about like the new stuff. Like they are hitting these different franchises that I wanted entries for, and these all have potential to be some of my favorite ever. Breath of the Wild, one of my favorites ever. Mario Odyssey, one of my favorites ever. Xenoblade is fairly new on the system, but it's doing amazing. Smash Ultimate, you could argue it's one of the best Smashes ever. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, one of the best Mario Karts ever. Splatoon 2, pretty good. Splatoon 3, you know, like that has potential to even surpass that. Monster Hunter Rise, that might be my favorite Monster Hunter ever. Like it's really, really, really darn good. And you know, the Animal Crossing New Horizons is going to go down as the best-selling Animal Crossing ever. It's a strong entry.
Unless the video game industry as a whole grows, then yes.
Metroid Dread. Yeah. I think that is going to go down as the best 2D Metroid ever, at least in terms of sales. That seems like a given. And now we got Kirby, right? Like, there's just a lot that they're doing on the Switch. Luigi's Mansion 3. Fire Emblem Three Houses. Man. Like, Astral Chain, a new IP. Like, yeah. There's a lot of good stuff on Switch, and every year gets better and better. And I do feel like 2018 and 2020 were maybe the weaker years of the Switch, but even in those years, they're still pretty good. Like, there's still a lot of nice things to enjoy. I mean, heck, I love Paper Mario: The Origami King. Like, again, I keep bringing up games, and I'm like, hey, that was a really good game, you know? So I'm just saying, man. I think the Switch is, because now that we kind of have a good read on what 2022 is looking like, yeah, I think, I'm not just talking about sales, I'm just talking about, like, my own personal, like, belief of what the system is and my enjoyment of the different games. This is turning into my favorite system of all time. So, yeah,
I think that's pretty fair, yeah.
I'm excited. But, yeah, I think, we are done for the evening, guys. It was good. We tried to do it in 2.5 hours. We did it in 3.5, which is, whenever Dumo's on, I think that's actually kind of like on the low end. So I think we did a good job.
Yeah. I think that was pretty good.
Yeah. I'll tell you that I was dying because I turned on my heat right before the podcast, which is why you saw me turn off the camera a couple times. And now, like, it's like, I'm like sweating, like it's steaming. So I opened my windows, and the second time I went away from the camera to like get some cold air in there because it's getting cold now. Man, I regret that. Anyway, have a good night, everyone. We'll see you really soon. Make sure to check out my friends. They are linked in the description below. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.